Yeah, so what he's saying is that those guys are all ISIS. Oh, and there was one other thing too, eh? Talking to this Russian dude at this, because I, just quickly, I went up to my buddy's place. I didn't work this week, and his buddy, he's got a weed license.
Yeah.
So I'm up there in this room trimming all this weed, like all this hydro
Yeah,
weed,
yeah.
right? So I'm working with this Russian guy, and he tells me in Russia, when a lady has a child, she gets 3 years off work.
3 years off work
3 years
in
off
Russia.
work to raise the child.
Wow.
And then if she has 2 children, they give her enough money to buy a condominium so that she's set up.
Right.
And if she has 4 children, then she's set up for life.
It's better than a check every month.
No, but what I'm saying to you is that you realize, and they get free education and free things. So what I'm saying is you realize in certain countries, when they try to sort of say that these countries are bullshit, yeah, they may not have a high standard of living, but they're really, I mean, you've heard about this with Russia and these things where they really sort of like, there's a high level of education and shit.
Right.
You know what I mean? But they don't focus on that shit. You realize that that's why these people are that well
set up, if you will. Yeah.
Well, because mom is there for 3 years.
Yeah.
Here, they've got mom out working 6 months later.
Right. 5 on the left, 2 on the right.
Oh, is it up and running?
Yeah, we're right.
This shit's up.
It's all good. Allah, Father of the universe.
Allah, Father of the universe.
Father of love.
Father of love.
Truth. Peace.
Freedom.
And justice. Allah is my protector.
Allah is my protector.
My guide.
And
my salvation. By night. And by day. His holy prophet. Noble Ali. Islam. Peace and Hotep. We want to start off today's class with Rome Must Fall. That'll be the new one.
Oh yeah, Rome must fall. Where was that again, son?
Daweed.
Oh yeah, Rome must fall.
Rome must fall, or Rome will fall.
Rome will fall.
Because
Rome
that's
is
time
falling.
right now. Rome is falling. Yeah, so Rome must fall, Rome will fall, Rome is falling. That's the ritual. Maybe a small water. That's the ritual right now. I want to say peace, love, and hotep to all the Moors, international Moors, worldwide. Peace to all the Moors that are active, not passive. Peace to all the Moors that are active and not dirty. Especially the dirty Moors. They get no love. All they get is justice all day, every day. Right? We want to say Islam to Brother Rami Salam L for his new class on Does Anybody Love Jesus? He went in on that one. So we do acknowledge and recognize, all the Moors that's doing something positive to try to get the people, to wake up a little bit. And if not, oh well, keep it moving. We're gonna start off with giving our condolences to the Marsh family for little brother Elijah, who got his supposed to be laying down, I think, this weekend. That's the brother.
That whole thing for those.
Yeah. Extending this.
But I mean, you know.
Right. GTA mourns Elijah. Crowd turns out for a visitation of little boy who died outside in the cold. So if you didn't know, for all the Moors out there, last week sometime, there was a little brother that got dropped off at grandma's house.
Is that what it was? Dropped off?
Yeah. Got dropped off, and then little brother decided to put on his boots, go downstairs, leave the building in just a diaper or something like that, a t-shirt or something like that, and he ended up freezing to death. So we have all the mourners, doing their thing. So we just want to put something out there, just with regard to anybody who's dealing with some death and things like that. We're just gonna go to our Holy Quran of the Moor Science Temple and quickly hit up chapter 4, Death and Burial of Elizabeth, Matheno's Lessons, Ministry of Death. Just so we can get a perspective of death, because there's this idea of death being bad, and everybody's scared of death and all that. So, right? Oh yeah, and today's class is that we're not Islamic. We're I-self-law and mastering. So dealing with our position as Moors, right? We always have to look at things from the most highest, supreme level. We're never looking at things from some mundane, dumbed down perspective. We're always looking at things in its highest capacity, because we are the founders of civilization. And as we know, civilizations are waiting for the Moors to step up. And the longer the Moors take their place, the more destruction is going to be happening on the planet, you know, because, as we said, Rome's falling. And other people are stepping in to do Rome's job since Rome is falling. So we just want to... Yeah, negatively, right? So this is chapter 4, Death and Burial of Elizabeth, Matheno's Lessons, the Ministry of Death. When John was 12 years old... Oh, this is a lot more. Peace and love, yo. Just started up. When John was 12 years old...
That's going to be... Here we go.
Yeah, you're right there. We said that. What's good, yo? It's got me so watching. We're wrong, but you guys gonna be here tomorrow? Huh? Tomorrow, you guys gonna be here? Yeah, we're here tomorrow. For that towards for the all right. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, we're just gonna start up. We're just starting up right now. So. All right. When John was 12 years old, his mother died, and neighbors laid her body in a tomb among her kindred in the Hebron burying ground, and near to Zachariah's tomb. And John was deeply grieved. He wept. Matheno said, "It is not well to weep because of death. Death is no enemy of man. It is a friend who, when the work of life is done, just cuts the cord that binds the human boat to earth, that it may sail on to smoother seas." So we'll just stop there, because me and Brother Omar were talking about this last week with regard to this little brother that walked out the building and froze to death. Little brother is ready to go because, you know what I mean, he realized something's up. You know what I mean? He made himself a sacrifice, because when we analyze the situation, you know what I mean, him opening the door and stuff like that, you know what I mean, putting on his boots, not putting on anything else, you know, just putting on his boots only, walking outside -40 or whatever like that, you know, there's obviously some higher things going on, you know what I mean?
As well as his name too.
His name, Elijah, right? You know, the fact that's his name, that alone, you know, puts things in perspective, you know what I mean? We look at
that movie with Denzel or whatever.
Yeah, Eli, yeah, Book of Eli. Eli, yeah. So we have to, you know, like we're saying, you know, we're not Islamic, we're I-self-law and mastering. So we have to look at things, you know, from the we're God perspective. You know what I mean? We're the ones that are gonna change whatever's going on out there. And with him doing what he did, you know, because I'm still, you know, people have said, oh yeah, it's happened, you know what I mean? Matter of fact, the day after, same thing happened again in Saga. Somebody else's.
Well, it was interesting. That was a 10-year-old boy.
Yeah, another one happened the day after.
And that was a European, and the mother was up doing some other nonsense.
Right.
They charged her
with
something with abandonment.
Right. Child endangerment or whatever.
He survived, but basically because some neighbor caught the child.
Yeah, saw the child in the street and brought him inside or whatever. So, you know, Asiatics and Europeans, you know, children are coming on the indigo right now, where they know something's up, and they don't even want nothing to do with around here, right? He could have took the position too.
Interrupt perhaps a second. What I had felt was, when you're born, they say that you're a spirit that is transferred over.
Right.
So you're closer, as a baby, you're closer to the
other
source,
side. Yeah.
Right? So a 2-year-old is going to be much closer than we are.
Right.
All the time that we're spent here, we continue to be we continue to lose that connection.
Right.
So Elijah at the age of 3 is much closer.
Much closer, yeah. Like,
so
I mean...
So he came over and he's like, okay, no, whatever, I've done my thing and I'm going back.
I'm out of here.
I'm out of here.
I'm out of here, literally, right? Also, too, with that, too, there was, I can't remember where I was, if I was reading something or watching something, but they were talking about how the connection to the spiritual beings, the spiritual forces, children have access to those.
Yeah, 100%.
You know what I mean? Like actually seeing entities walking around, stuff like that. Could have been an entity called him outside. You know what I mean? Let's go. It's that time. You know, because we all know that man is spirit, not the flesh.
And that's what they've said too in a lot of things. Like they say that young children have that connection, but as they continue to get trained and indoctrinated,
right,
they lose that ability because it's trained out of them.
Right, and that's why Rome must fall, because that's really what the dumb down is. The dumb down is getting disconnected from who we are on the highest level from a child. But by the time we get to 7, 8, you know, if we're not, you know, we don't have homeschool, we don't have our parents that got nationality birthrights teaching certain things, we're out. You know what I mean? Out the loop.
So as a parent, like nowadays, you would just advise no school, like not
yeah, I mean, it's touchy because, you know, we kind of need this, like the school's kind of a babysitter right now because the parents are so bogged down with, you know, having to live, right? Even though it's not really living, you know what I mean, because they're working or whatever like that. So the school's taking a position, but you know, it's the parents, you know, grandparents, aunts, uncles, whatever like that, who have to step in to kind of even out the brainwash.
But what is it going to take for our like, let's say some people still do agree with the school system or whatever, but they are Moors, right?
Yeah.
And you see how the Muslims, they're allowed to wear their
their hijab and whatever else.
Like that. The Indians are allowed to wear hijab. What if our sons or daughters wanted to wear, let's say their fez or their hijab?
Yeah.
Where would we have to go from there? Would it have to be like a meeting with the principal?
Not even necessarily. It's just, you know, put on your stuff, go to school. Just like shoes. You know what I mean? Like, because we're of the mentality that we always need to get verification to do something, right? Whereas, you know, that's like telling a Hindu, you know, before you go to school, you have to get permission to put the dot before you go to school with the dot.
But you see all that, for us, it would be kind of different because it's like those ones that are teaching us certain things, they're not teaching us what we're supposed to know. And they're keeping that stuff. And they hide in secrecy, the top ones.
Right.
With our
headwear or whatever.
With our headwear on. So us coming to our consciousness and just, you know, we're setting our kids, you know, for how he's talking about walking to school with our fez on.
Yeah.
They know what it is.
Yeah, like for example, there's Moors right now, right? Who they send their children to school with their fez on. It's not no issue. You know what I mean? It's not fight or whatever like that. You know what I mean? You know, if there's an issue, teacher will call them directly. You know what I'm saying? This is the situation. You know, come in or whatever like that. You know, and it's not how we look at it or how we think it's gonna go. You know what I mean? We have this assumption that it's gonna go a certain way because of the previous ways that we've been dealt with. You know what I mean? But once we get over that hump, once we get over that fear that I want to do this, and then, you know, it's just like with the going down to the land registry or whatever. You know what I mean? You go, you know they're gonna give you the hassle or whatever like that, but you know, the manager comes out, ain't no hassle. They just tell you, oh yeah, you know, set an appointment, come back, you know what I mean, we'll deal with whatever we gotta do. And then that's it. It's not even an issue. You know what I'm saying? But the problem is that fear that, you know, same thing. As we go from children, you know what I mean, and we move up, it's really a fear that they put in us to shut down our godlike capabilities. You know what I mean? Because they know that fear would suppress our higher self. They know that you know, just the thought of what's gonna happen if you're already shut down.
Yeah.
Immediately, like right there, you're already done. Right? So with regard to the school thing, it's for, you know, community to start raising their children again. For our community. Because, you know, everybody else doesn't have that problem. They send their school, you know, they go honor roll. You see how Lee, Wei, Huang, whatever, in the honor roll, right? Surjit Saran and, you know, Singh and whatever like that, on the honor roll. And you know, Asiatics on the honor roll. You know what I mean? Right? Asiatics as, you know, like Moors, I'm saying, dark-skinned people, you know what I mean?
They're basically still our people.
Right?
Yeah.
But when you look at the dynamics, all those other nations, their children know who they are. He knows he's Lei Hing Wei. He knows that. Came out the womb. Gonna be, yeah, you might call him Ben Lei at school, but when he goes home, they're not calling him Ben or whatever. They speak their own language at home. You know what I mean? And then on top of that, he's got Saturday school he goes to, and then Saturday night school that he goes to, and then Sunday morning school that he goes to, and then, you know, Tai Chi school, and then, you know, whatever else, martial arts school.
They don't really
you know?
talk about that stuff too, man. Like, they won't sit there and say, yeah, I do this,
Yeah.
I do that. Like,
Yeah.
you know what
I mean, and then the other thing too is they probably do talk about it, but, you know, we don't know their language. So when they're sitting there talking Chinese or whatever like that, they could be breaking down all their sciences or whatever right there on the school in the cafeteria on lunch. You know what I mean? What did you learn in last, you know, martial arts class or whatever? I wasn't there.
You see how the prophet knew 7 different languages or something?
Right.
9
Yeah.
different languages. Did he know how to communicate with the Asians, like how they were speaking their language?
I mean, I wasn't there to know, but
Like,
the fact that in the literature, you know, you had Turks coming to the temple, Chinese coming to the temple, you know, Spanish-speaking people coming to the temple during his time. You know, there was obviously a forum for them if they're going to be coming in. You know what I mean? Like, you know, Japanese coming to the temple. What do they have interest in more Science Temple of America if it doesn't cater to them in some kind of way? You know what I'm saying? No language can describe a mother's worth, and yours was tried and true, but she was not called hence until her tasks were done. The cause of death are always for the best, for we are solving problems there as well as here, and one is sure to find himself where he can solve his problems best. It is selfishness that makes one wish to call again to earth departed souls. It is selfishness that makes one wish to call again to earth departed souls. So somebody dies and, oh my God, I miss you, I wish you were here, and all this type of stuff like that. They're in a better place. Well, you wish you never come back here. This madness here. People get choked out on the street or whatever. You're calling people back here when they're somewhere that is incomparable to here. You know what I mean? Right? Then let your mother rest in peace. Just let her noble life be strength and inspiration unto you. Right? So at 3 years old, this youth man's life is supposed to be an inspiration to his parents, friends, whatever, whoever knew him. 3. So what happens if somebody's 80, 90 or whatever, and they pass? We're not supposed to be mourning them. We're supposed to be going through their resume and finding every single thing that we can find in their life to use as inspiration for us to keep doing what it is that we do or make their legacy live on or whatever like that. Right? A crisis in your life has come, and you must have a clear conception of the work that you are called to do. So when the crisis, when a crisis in your life has come, and you must have a clear conception of the work that you are called to do. So as soon as we hit a situation of crisis, right there, you know, whatever problems that we have, issues that we're dealing with or whatever, right there, that's a sign for us to recognize that, you know, we got stuff to do. Yeah, that's supposed to be a light bulb. You know what I mean? As soon as the crisis hits, it's supposed to be a light bulb. Okay, you know what I mean? Well, okay, forget about the crisis. What is it that my purpose is? You know what I mean? Same thing with these parents or whatever. Now, you know, you look at the situation with the brother. You know, they had some trust fund that they started or whatever like that. You know, just for the funeral. You know, parents can't afford the funeral or whatever. Things at like $200,000 right now or some madness like that. 200,000 just sitting in a trust that people just, you know, out of the goodness of, you know, the boy died or whatever like that.
To follow up with you today, I turned on to see what the weather was like, and they have the funeral is being held at St. Michael's, St. Michael's church, I guess.
Mm.
Like, Presbyterian or Anglican church, or
Yeah.
something like that, on St. Clair.
Right.
And it's in a sort of, I don't think they live near there.
Yeah.
But it's definitely, it's on St. Clair and Christie, which is
Right.
sort of like the downtown area.
Right. Yeah.
Vaughan, St. Clair,
Yeah.
Oakwood. It's a very sort of heavy
Right.
black area. And people have been lining up since 10 o'clock to get in there for the funeral at 11.
Yeah.
There sure was a line of people.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, this is really weird. Like, what is the purpose? Like, I mean, they said this also in the Red Book. Coming to sort of pay your so-called respects to the dead body.
Yeah.
The body's
The
not, there's nothing
the
in
husk.
the body.
Yeah, it's a husk.
So whatever that process is,
Yeah.
there's something with
There's
that.
bigger,
What
yeah,
are they going
bigger,
for again?
there's
Like
bigger stuff.
they're giving their donation.
I don't know if it's donations. They're there to sort of to pay their respects.
Their respects to the.
So that's what I found
Yeah.
interesting. What is it that they like? The child has done nothing in his life. Let's say, you know, he wasn't like a youth worker or whatever.
Right.
So what respects are they paying to the
Yeah.
child?
Yeah.
You
It's
understand what I mean?
energy though. It's
Yeah.
like they're taking people's energy just off that whole.
Just that,
Just
exactly.
good.
Exactly.
That's
Right.
it
And
doesn't
that's
even
exactly what
matter-
it's
It
about.
doesn't even matter if it was for a black kid or you know what I mean.
Yeah,
They just
right.
want to control that whole energy.
Right.
100%. I was talking with someone else about this. One of the things you guys may or may not know, but and I talked to Karen Chief about this, that it's called vampirism. What it is it's the energy. Everything is energy.
Yeah.
So you don't get paid money. It's about them taking your energy.
Yeah.
They're giving you nothing for it. That's the slavery behind it. But what they can't have you think is that you are a slave. Because once that happens, then you're going to rebel.
Yeah,
so you got to think you're doing something.
got your
That's where the cooperation of the slavery comes in.
Yeah.
You think you're actually making something.
Right.
So $20 isn't. You're not getting paid the $20. You're creating the energy of that. You're creating the energy for that $20.
Yeah.
You're the one making the $20.
Yeah.
$20 has nothing. That
To do with
$20
that,
sits on
yeah,
the floor
yeah.
until you do something,
Right.
and that's what they got us.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. So what I realized with a lot of these movies, where they and this came to me a couple of days ago too. That they have all these movies and they keep having this theme about vampires, right?
Mm-hmm.
The
Yeah.
vampire is always a physical vampire,
Right.
always sucking your blood.
Yeah.
But the reality is there is vampirism, but it's not about the blood.
Yeah.
It's about the energy.
Which blood is energy on a
blood
level
is-
that
on
they're
a
not
level.
talking about.
What they do is they have
Yeah.
to have you in the
Yeah.
consciousness
Yeah.
of thinking about it
A
actually
being,
being
yeah,
physical
a being,
blood.
yeah,
So
yeah.
therefore, when
Yeah.
you do start looking at this, you don't connect the two.
Right.
You work for movies. I mean, you're actor, right?
No, I work in film, but not
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
other side. But what I'm saying to you is that what I realized was that they need to keep you distracted from the truth.
Right.
But they know the truth is there, so they've got to have you thinking, okay, it's a color, but it's not blue, it's red. You see what I mean? The real color is blue, but if you think it's red, then you're going to miss what it really is
Right,
about.
really what's
right?
going on, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but they also play with symbology, and they also make sure that when you're thinking about vampires, you think there's some guy with long teeth.
Yeah.
When it's really the guy who's got you working for him.
The guy with the white collar.
With the white collar. He's the real vampire.
That's the real vampire.
So, yeah,
the boss, the CEO.
And that's what I realized. With all these people lined up at 10, they're an hour early to get into this church where there was only 500 people. They know thousands of people. So how come you're going to have them jacked up in a small church like that?
Right.
And have people waiting online? Like, what was the purpose behind that?
Right.
So for a 3-year-old boy, what?
Yeah.
So that came to me too, and I realized they've really been sucking the energy out of this little boy.
Yeah.
The purity behind him
Is because that's the same thing with the popes and their ritual, the Jews, the rabbis and their ritual of little boys.
That's right.
It's not a sexual or whatever, rape little boys or whatever. It's suck their energy to keep them going.
Right. But also what I realized is the energy behind the young boys is pure.
Right.
They haven't
been
done anything wrong.
Yeah,
so that boy is like pure white.
Right.
Right. And real white versus having any sort of done anything wrong. He is the purest energy.
Yeah. Any blemishes? No blemishes. Yeah. Right. And also too that church is circle.
Right. Yeah.
So and the circles of vortex. So what's really going on with because remember we're saying that the crisis in your life has come and you must have a clear conception of the work that you are called to do, right? So all these people are obviously affected by this quote unquote crisis of this young boy, right? But they're not focused on the work that they're supposed to do. They're focused on going and praying over husk in a box, thinking that the God is going to respect them because they showed honor to this little boy by going to a funeral when.
It's like the same thing Brother Dan was saying.
Yeah.
He was talking about it in a little video on solution.
Right.
Like how everybody just talks about like everybody's on the solution, like talking about the solution, when they can be, the ones fixing, like you see how everybody's directed towards that one child. Everybody's energy is talking about that child. Everybody's going to pay the respect. Right. All the energy is.
Oh yeah, I see what you're saying.
All the energy is in that, but it's like
taking us away from nationality.
So
what's that gonna like? You guys are all lining up at the doors to.
Right. Right. The sages of the ages call you harbinger. The prophets look to you and say, "He is Elijah come again." Right. Your mission here is that of a harbinger, for you will go before the Messiah's face to pave his way and make the people ready to receive their king. This readiness is purity of heart. None but the pure in heart can recognize the king. To teach men to be pure in heart, you must yourself be pure in heart and word and deed. In infancy, the vow for you was made, and you became a Nazarite. The razor shall not touch your face, nor head, and you shall not taste wine nor fiery drinks. Men need a pattern for their lives. They love to follow, not lead. The man who stands upon the corner of the path and points the way, but does not go, just a pointer and a block of wood can do the same. The teacher treads the way. On every span of ground, he leaves his footprints, clearly cut, which all can see and be assured that he, their master, went that way. Men comprehend the inner life by what they see and do. They come to Allah through ceremonies and forms. And so, when they would make men know that sins are washed away by purity and life, and a right symbolic may be introduced. In water, wash the bodies of the people who will turn away from sin and strive for purity and life. This rite of cleansing is a preparation rite, and they who thus are cleansed comprise the temple of purity. And you shall say, you men of Israel, hear, reform and wash, become the sons of purity, and you shall be forgiven. This rite of cleansing and this temple are but symbolic of the soul, which does not come with outward show, but is the temple within. Right? Same thing that we're saying, that we're not mere Muslims because, we put down a mat, face the east, and do salat, and then, we're Muslim. Even if, as more as we do that's a higher ritual that we're doing. It's not just a ritual of pray. You know what I mean? If we have, fez is not just a ritual of, we have this headwear called fez, religious headwear, national headwear, whatever. There's a more divine thing going on. You know what I mean? Brother Denham was talking about in a couple classes back about the ritual of tying the t-shirt on the head. You know what I mean? That, you know, youngsters tie a t-shirt on the head, and then they see him in a turban, and they're like, this guy's wearing a turban.
Yeah.
But they're wearing a turban too. It's just in the form of a t-shirt. You know what I'm saying? Right? Fitted. This is a fitted. Everybody got fitteds on or whatever, talking about New York and the Jets and, you know, Nets and whatever like that. But they're really wearing a fez really, with a brim on it.
Yeah.
Really and truly. You know what I mean? Watered down fez. Right?
Like they can't make anything else different because like those first people that ever have the first
Right.
blueprint of making.
Because they still have, you noticed, they still have
They still have the button right on the top.
Yeah.
Right? They just don't have the tassel on it. Right?
That blueprint you could only just make like you could only just make different designs.
Yeah.
Same thing.
The same thing.
Yeah.
Right? Now you may never point the way and tell the multitude to do what you have never done, but you must go before and show the way. You are to teach that men must wash, so you must lead the way. Your body must be washed, symbolic cleansing of the soul. John said, why need I wait? May I not go at once and wash? Matheno said, 'tis well, and they went down to Jordan and east of Jericho, just where the host of Israel crossed. When first they entered Canaan, they tarried for a time. Matheno taught the harbinger and explained to him the inner meaning of the cleansing rite and how to wash himself and how to wash the multitude. And in the river Jordan, John was washed. Then they returned onto the wilderness. Now, in Engendi's hills, Matheno's work was done, and he and John went down to Egypt. They rested until they reached the temple of Saqqara in the valley of the Nile. For many years, Matheno was a master in his temple of the Brotherhood. And when he told about the life of John and his mission to the sons of men, the Hierophant with joy received the harbinger, and he was called the Brother Nazarite. For 18 years John lived and wrought within these temple gates. And here he conquered self, became a mastermind, and learned the duties of the harbinger.
Go ahead.
Right.
Yeah, that's for you guys. That's yours.
Right? So speaking that we're talking about the harbinger, we're just gonna take a quick look at the perspective that Marcus Garvey was bringing for the masses, so they can be prepared to receive the prophet. Which is why they got him out the way as soon as, Noble Drew Ali went and visited him, deport him, kill Noble Drew Ali, and now we have all these different branches, sects of, black liberation, when everybody's supposed to be Moors right now. Everybody went different ways, when everybody's supposed to be Moors by now. Everybody's supposed to be nationalized by now. Everybody's supposed to have, a perspective of Noble Drew Ali, just like they have a perspective of everybody else who they claim that they know or honor or whatever like that. When that guy's birthday, listed off. What did he say? Listed off. Go there. They got books about everybody and stuff like that. Asking about Noble Drew Ali. Everybody's pausing. They don't know.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? I thought there was one prophet, Muhammad. What do you mean, Prophet Noble Drew Ali and all this type of stuff, right? So this is Garvey's writing. Man, know thyself. For man to know himself is for him to feel that for him there is no human master. For him nature is his servant, and whatsoever he wills in nature, that shall be his reward. If he wills to be a pygmy, a serf, or a slave, that shall he be. If he wills to be a real man in possession of the things common to man, then he shall be his own sovereign. Garvey talking, right? Black guy. Universal Negro Improvement Association talking about man being his own sovereign, right? Where are you getting this idea from? About man being his own sovereign, right? Why is this mentioned in the writing called Man Know Thyself.
But isn't there only like one kind of literature that comes from? Like,
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, that information
Nobody else speaks on that level.
So whoever he got taught from, that's like.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly.
When man fails to grasp his authority, he sinks to the level of the lower animals, and whatsoever the real man bids him to do, even as if it were of the lower animals, that much shall he do. If he says go, he goes. If he says come, he comes. But this command he performs the functions of life, even as by a similar command the mule, the horse, the cow perform the will of their masters. For the last 400 years, the Negro has been in the position of being commanded, even as the lower animals are controlled. Our race has been without a will, without a purpose of its own, for all this length of time. Because of that, we have developed few men who are able to understand the strenuousness of the age in which we live, where we can find in this race of ours real men, men of character, men of purpose, men of confidence, men of faith, men who really know themselves. I have come across so many weaklings who profess to be leaders, and in the test I have found them but the slaves of a nobler class. They perform the will of their masters without question. To me, a man has no master but God. Man is his authority, man in his authority is a sovereign Lord. And as for the individual man, so of the individual race. This feeling makes man so courageous, so bold, as to make it impossible for his brother to intrude upon his rights. So few of us can understand what it takes to make a man. The man who will never say die, the man who will never give up, the man who will never depend on others to do for him what he ought to do for himself, the man who will not blame God, who will not blame nature, who will not blame fate for his condition, but the man who will go out and make conditions to suit himself. Oh, how disgusting life becomes when on every hand you hear people who bear your image, who bear your resemblance, telling you that you cannot make it, that fate is against them, and they cannot get a chance. If 400 million Negroes can only get to know themselves, to know what in them is a sovereign power, is an authority that is absolute, then in the next 24 hours, we would have a new race. We would have a nation, an empire, resurrected, not from the will of others to see us rise, but from our own determination to rise, irrespective of what the world thinks. Marcus Garvey, right, the forerunner of the prophet. And in that, he mentioned sovereign 3 times. And he mentioned rights. And he mentioned nobler classes, right? So even though he was, his organization was called Negro Improvement Association, he still had some type of degrees of what Islam is. I mean, the high level of Islam, not the mere Muslim, go run around stuff and kiss stones and stuff like that. The actual real Islam, right? There was also something else too with regard to the Queen. There was an article in the paper about the High Court shooting down people's oath challenges to the Queen, because people were taking a position of, because the oath of Canada acknowledges the Queen, and that you have to show allegiance to her successors and their successors and their successors and their successors or whatever. People are like, nah, whatever. we're not taking no oath to the Queen. And Supreme Court came in and said, none of that. Queen's the authority or whatever like that. So these people are going to respect that position, or they better respect that position. Two of the applicants were Europeans, and one was a sister that's Rastafarian, right? And their whole position is that, them showing allegiance to the Queen violates their constitutional obligation, to be free people or whatever like that. But, it comes back to that same thing that if you're going to claim that you're free, then why are you, saying that you're Canadian? When Canadian is a jurisdiction that is strictly corporate, and they have their way, they have their way of doing stuff, they have their stuff that they do, and people have to acknowledge and recognize that all these things that they're doing, that they're putting in the news, if we check the papers, you see all these things going on with constitutional this and that, and just things just coming up. Things just popping up in papers now, you know what I mean? It's because of our activity that we're doing. Right? We know that it's because of Moors why Barack Obama signed the Declaration, right? We know that it's because of Moors, right? He didn't just do that because he felt like it or whatever like that. Moors sending him writs and stuff like that made him do that, right? We know that Stephen Harper signed the declarations or whatever because of Moors out here. Moors sending him writs and stuff, right? Letting them know that we're out here. You guys can play games or whatever that you want with the masses, but the reality of the situation is that, the activity that we're doing is shaking up this whole country. You know what I mean? Just last week, more came from Calgary down here. You know what I mean? Because realize something, recognize that something's going on. You know what I mean? And it's for us to really recognize what we have. You know what I mean? Even with where you Moors are at. That's an untouched jurisdiction. You know what I mean? I'm sure that, you out there with your fez and all that, it's different. Just dealing with people. You know what I mean? Letting them know that you're Moors is different. You know what I mean? It's not the same as it was. You know what I mean? It's not the same as it was with you saying black African. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
whatever.
But people corrected them on, even them hearing that, no, you're not black. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Even just them hearing that, it's just like, what do you mean,
Right.
It's just dumb, it's like, you never heard it before, someone tell me that.
Right. So we also have to recognize that, as Moors speaking on us being masters of self, that there's a lot of things that are going on outside of what we do that are causing other people to have issues because of the stuff that we're doing. Now, we came into the information 0708, right? And since then, the amount of stuff that's changed up, you know what I mean? Whether it's court stuff that changed, you know what I mean, doing stuff different, whether it's more activity from people who aren't on our side, like the sovereigns and these people, you know what I mean, them stepping up their stuff, you know what I'm saying, so that they can be more, you know what I mean, active in what they're doing or whatever like that. All that stuff is happening because of what we put forth. But we have to constantly remember that jurisdiction is based on the language and how we talk and what we say. And certain things that we say gets us in jurisdictions that we don't want to be involved in. So we want to put on the record once again, because we did it before. This is from 2011, E-Division Criminal Intelligence Section of the RCMP, when they sent out their officer awareness bulletin about all these individuals who call themselves free man on the land, right? To let all the so-called quote unquote law enforcement people, because remember RCMP is the top of the food chain as far as law enforcement. So they're letting everybody else know from their level down what this free man on the land thing is and how they look at it, right? Which is why, there's Moors here that have been stopped or whatever like that. First thing that they put on them, oh yeah, that guy's free man on the land. First thing, off the bat, right? Why are they tying? I don't see free man wearing feathers and stuff like that. Like, how does that have to do with us, right? And this comes back to the same thing about we aren't Islamic. We might have practices that refer to Islam, but Islam to us is thyself, law, and master. Islam to us is man knowing himself, man knowing his God self, right? Man recognizing that him and Allah are one. And we're not the go run around stuff, right? And we're traditional, quote unquote Islamic, whatever, and pretend like we're Muslims to get in line with religious rights, that other people have. Like you're saying, the Punjabis or whatever and the whatever. So we're Muslims, so we should be allowed to. That's not, we're God and man. That's why we're allowed to do whatever it is that we do. We're I-self, law, and master, right? So, and this is not just here, because this is 2011, but there was prior to this, for Moors Online, it was prior to this that they were trying to tie Moors to sovereign citizen movements, right? South of where we are, right? And many Moors got caught up in that because the term sovereign is mentioned. So I guess we're sovereign citizens. Garvey said sovereign and all that stuff. So we can say that, but as soon as you say that, you put yourself in the jurisdiction, right? That these people are attacking right now, right? So the information being provided in this document has been collected with the intent of timely dissemination and in support of criminal operations. Recipients are encouraged to self-verify all information contained in this report before using it for any investigative enforcement action, evidence, or other legal proceedings. Free Man on the Land, FOTL. Members of the Free Man on the Land can present risks to officer safety. Officers are urged to exercise caution in dealing with known or suspected members of FOTL. The FOTL is a libertarian and anti-government movement whose members believe that they are sovereign citizens and not subject to the laws of Canada. They also believe that they have the right to use force, including deadly force, in defense of their land, property, and family. Right? So we already know that these aren't the officers. They're not elected or anything like that. But they're taking the position of law enforcement authority, and they know that the free man on the land jurisdiction is a fraudulent jurisdiction. So they're not wrong on that part. They're wrong saying that they're officers, but they're not wrong identifying the free man on the land as libertarians, anti-government, whatever like that. Because we had the sit down with Robert Menard, right? And he's talking about we need to get rid of the Constitution and stuff like that. So they're anti-government, the free man guys, the sovereign citizens. Their position is they don't want they don't want a government. They just want to be free to just run amok around here because, just because. Right, yeah, right? When it's not going on like that. you guys need to be governed by something because, like brother said, you're on Neanderthals or whatever. So we're not just gonna let you guys run rampant. They can't run like that.
They can't really do that, right? Because they know that they would have to be under our jurisdiction.
Right.
Or anything, right.
Right. Which is why people attack Peter Lamborn Wilson, who's a European, right? But he backed Noble Drew Ali and all that stuff, and he, you know, enforced what Noble Drew Ali said in force. Patrick Lamprin, right? More in Montreal, who beat them up, made the city go to his parents and extort the fiat to pay his stuff. Because he stood up and said he's under the Moorish Empire. So they said, all right, we're not going to deal with you then. And they didn't deal with him, and they went to his parents and extorted fiat from his parents to pay his fines. Right? Christopher Fleming, right? Brother in Cali, you know. Once again, European, not playing sovereign, free man on the land and all that type of stuff, saying, yo, I'm under the jurisdiction of the Moorish Empire. I don't know what you guys are talking about, but I'm under the jurisdiction of the Moorish Empire, went to court, got the house, right, that he claimed and all that stuff, right? And then they're coming to him after telling him, well, you can't go to the house. After the judge laid it down that leave this guy alone because you guys don't have jurisdiction over him. And they took it personal, right? That, hold on a second, how's this guy a European like us? We gotta freaking pay mortgage or whatever like that. And then he's freaking claiming stuff because he's under some jurisdiction of some Moors or whatever like that, right? Threatening this man, he still got videos that he's putting up about them threatening him constantly, regularly, right? Latif Bey, right? Brother Latif Bey going out to the Masons stuff, you know what I mean? Go telling the Masons and stuff like that, yeah, you guys know you owe the Moors or whatever like that. You guys need to give them their stuff and all that, right? Masons mad at him, you know what I mean? Threatening him. And he's a European. These are Europeans standing up for, you know, constitutional, whatever. They're not playing. They're sovereign citizens. They don't need to follow no laws and all that stuff, right? They're down with the law. They're down with recognizing and knowing that there is a superior sovereign in the Americas that, you know, they recognize. And they're taking the position of, we're going to be under that. We're not going to take the role of, you know, we have no allegiance to no government because we know that U.S. in Canada's a fraud, so we don't want to be part of none of that stuff. They're still they're still showing allegiance, right, to the Moorish Empire, right, and getting leeway in doing that. You know, yeah, it might be a battle or whatever like that. You know, I mean, they have to go through some stuff, but the point of the matter is that they recognize something. You know what I'm saying? Indicators of potential involvement with free man on the land movement. Subjects refer to themselves as given name of the family surname. Example, John of the family Smith. Right? When writing their name, subjects use the format given name, : surname. Example, John : Smith, which may be followed by the man, John : Smith the man. Subjects claim to be living as a son of God or have the status of a son of God, right? Now on that one, right? Who's their God? If they're saying that they're son of God, right? Okay, so they're making the statement, the free man sovereign guys are saying that they're son of God, right? So that means the United States, Canada, whoever doesn't have jurisdiction over them, right? And then we're saying that we're I, self, law, and master, Allah is man, then that means that we're their God.
Yeah.
But if we're their God, why are they showing allegiance to the Moroccan Empire? Why are they playing around that they can be sovereign without tying themselves to this nation that creates gods on earth, that makes makes man and Allah unified, right? Subjects refer to themselves as humans or flesh and blood human beings. Subjects refer to Canada as a corporation or a corporate entity and may refer to driver's licenses and other forms of government identification as corporate issues. That's legit, right? That position is legit. Right? Canada is a corporation, the United States is a corporation, and any instruments that those jurisdictions issue are corporate issued instruments. So that one there is legit. During traffic stops, subjects may refer to their common law right to travel on the land, which they believe allows them to operate a vehicle for non-commercial purposes without having to register or insure the vehicle and without being licensed as a driver. Right? Now there's a lot of confusion in that one, because when they talk about having a common law right, they might be able to do that in Europe, but over here a common law right is constitutional. So it's really a constitutional right. If they're saying as free man, we have a right to do something, they can't say it's a common law right here when they're saying that their name's Smith and whatever like that, because that common law jurisdiction that they're talking about is in Europe. That common law jurisdiction isn't something that they can really exercise here on that level, right? And then having a right to travel on the land. The only way they can have a right to travel on the land is if they're more subjects, and we grant them that authority to do that. But they can't just on their own have the right to travel, because that right belongs to Aboriginal and Indigenous people only. So they might have a right to travel in Europe, but they don't have a right to travel over here, because this jurisdiction does not cater to their beliefs. That, they're son of God, but they don't want to say who God is. You know what I mean? That means that's a belief system that they have. They have a right to travel, but they're not constitutional in nature. Their demonstration isn't about enforcing the constitutional right to travel. They just want to have a right to travel. When you can't just have a right to travel just because you don't want a license. You know what I mean? They're better off doing the all rights reserved or whatever like that and go get the license and then fight it on that level. If they're going to exercise on those levels. Subjects ask to see a police officer's bond number. That's legit. But knowing now that all these so-called law enforcement people just have blanket bonds where they have one bond to cover everybody. You're not going to go out there and get no bond number from no policy enforcer. Right? Not because they don't want to give it, but because they don't have it. It's not something that they have. They're not qualified to carry guns and cuffs and all that type of stuff because they don't have bonds. They're not bonded. Just like when we used to work collections, right? Same thing, blanket bond. The company has a bond to cover all the employees, but every individual employee isn't bonded. You know what I mean? So even when they're calling you up for stuff, you know what I mean? That's stuff that we could ask them. Visa, MasterCard, whoever calling you up, oh yeah, you owe or whatever like that, is in collections. Oh, you bonded? Look, what's your bond number? Collection agent number, whatever. Because you should have a bond if you're telling me that, I need to pay something to you. You know what I mean? Subjects present or reference a notice of understanding and intent and claim of right. A document they believe exempts them from the authority of police and other officials and entities and entitles them to charge fees if they are detained, questioned, or otherwise regulated. So that's with regard to the fee schedule. That they don't have that authority to build somebody. So this is not their land. Right? Only the Aboriginal indigenous people can make that claim of right. They can't make a claim of right because this is not their jurisdiction to make those claims. Right? So all these things that we do, like when we say, right to travel, stop me $50, $100 million an hour if you violate me, right? Automatically, Popo's going on, oh yeah, there must be a free man on the land because, whatever, when, it's not just to make the statement because the statement's going to make them go to this. It's to actually give them a bill for whatever it is that the violation. You know what I mean? Yeah. Right? Give them a bill. That way it's not just words that they're going to say, oh, that guy must be a free man because he's making the statement of, fee schedule and, $50 every second that, we hold him, detain him or whatever like that. Right? Exactly. Right? Subjects make continued use of nonsensical, legal, quasi-legal jargon. Right? So we know, we always have to stick with lawful and unlawful. Right? Jurisdictions in the language. Right? Lawful and unlawful. They violate is unlawful. Not illegal that what they're doing. It's unlawful what they're doing. And we're doing lawful things. Right? We don't do unlawful things. We do lawful. So that way it sets a bar for how they deal with Moors. Right? Just like one of the Moors went to had a court situation with the straw. And they told him, we don't want you. We want that name or whatever. He's like, oh, you want so you guys know who I am. I'm like, yeah, we know who you are, but we don't want you. We want that. So the words, this was Yasan's situation probably a month ago or something like that. I think about a month ago. So it's getting around. It's becoming, common that, they know who the Moors are, whether, that we got nationality card or whatever like that. We're in a separate jurisdiction than anybody else out here. Because we have something that we can show to prove our identity that we're tied to something other than the corporate fiction that everybody else is tied to.
They told him that?
Yeah.
You want that?
Yeah, we want that. Like, just like that. We don't want you. We want that.
So how do they get that?
No, well, hey, if you want that, go ahead. Just know that that's not me. You know what I mean? And if you want me to be that, then it's under threat, duress, and coercion. You know what I mean? I'm going to put my free national name, X relation, that. So you know that there's a clear distinction between me and that. Right? Even another brother, a brother called me about somebody that got kidnapped. He's a lawyer, right? And he called me about somebody who got kidnapped. And the guy who got kidnapped didn't want to sign anything because his mentality was this. He didn't have birthright nationality mentality. His mentality was this. So his perspective was, well, if I sign, then they're gonna make me be that. He didn't know about all rights reserved and nothing like that. So we're trying to explain to the lawyer, well, okay, tell him to be that, but reserve his rights, sign or whatever like that. It's like, nah, I'm not gonna, because if I be that, then they're gonna make that. Yeah, no, but we're telling you, be that, just reserve your rights, right? Like they offered him bail, they offered him community hours, they offered him everything, but because he didn't have knowledge of how to live within contracts, because he's learning from some, right, sovereign citizen goofs, right, hillbilly sovereign guys, right? They're holding him till April, till his court date. Right? And that's like the thing, like with what in Black's Law Dictionary, what Queen Valara was saying about when they give you the window, right? They gave him like 50 windows, and he didn't take any because he thought, based on his teachings, learning from these clowns, that if he signs something, then he's going to be in the jurisdiction, right? When, yeah, but there's ways to sign, so you're not in the jurisdiction, right? And then that's where he was not. You know what I mean? And they just said, all right, fine, we'll just hold you there, because now you become a risk. You know what I mean? Because if we let you go, you might not show up when court date comes. You know what I mean? If we let you go, you might jump on a plane, go somewhere. You know what I mean? Try to escape the jurisdiction or whatever it is. And the charge was obstruction of officer. It wasn't even, you didn't murder nobody or nothing like that. You didn't deal no drugs, nothing like that. The only charge was obstruction. That's it. And this guy didn't want to sign to get released. And bail on his own recognizance. Not even bail on, the lawyer would take the hit as the surety. You're not going to call your mom and whoever like that, go find somebody or whatever. The lawyer was going to take the hit to be the surety. Right? Which all comes back to, us knowing what it is that we're doing. You know what I mean? Not playing that we know when we don't really know. Because once you don't know, then they see that as a window for them to get jurisdiction. You know what I mean? And where it's at right now, they'll make windows to try to pull you in, because their stuff is falling. In addition, officers are asked to remain alert of the following: signage and vehicle decals containing anti-government sentiments or terms used by the FOTL movement, such as free man, sovereign, think free, etc. References to free man on the land related websites, such as whatever the websites are, and I'll give them no promo, because people are already getting their ass kicked for being in those jurisdictions, going on those people's website when they should be, RV Bay and whatever else. Right? Any questions or comments or experience right now with anything at all? Now the other thing that we wanted to touch on with regard to this, this is another one too that we want to touch on. So before I left home, somebody came to the house, did the little soft knock, right? Right, the little soft knock, the polite knock, and they gave me a flyer. How do you view the Bible? Would you say it is a book of human wisdom, a book of myths and legends, the word of God? So, and then on the inside of it, they have, a brother there. You know that's a brother. And then they have a sister there, but they have her brown on the paper, so we already know that they're geared toward a specific people, right? So Hamzi's, he does the, hi, my name is whatever and all that stuff. Right? Do you believe on the whatever? Like, well, 325 AD, Nicene Conference and all this stuff like that, right? Right? So he's like, then he just gave you the flyer. He's like, okay, have a nice day, hit the next door, right? So obviously they already know what's up, you know what I mean? They have a certain degree because, the eyes don't tell lies, you know what I mean? The eyes don't tell lies. And his look made me know that he knew about Nicene Conference. And these guys are playing people, right? Now the other thing that we wanted to address, we want to read this, Noble Drew Ali's reading on what is Islam, just so we can have a perspective before we go into this next part. Yeah, 244. What is Islam? Islam is a very simple faith. It requires man to recognize his duties towards God Allah, his creator, and his fellow creatures. It teaches the supreme duty of living at peace with one's surroundings. It is preeminently the religion of peace. The very name Islam means peace. The goal of a man's life, according to Islam, is peace with everything, peace with Allah and peace with man. The Quran, the holy book of Islam, tells us that the final abode of man is the house of peace, where no vain word or sinful discourse will be heard. The holy divine prophet Noor Ali says that a follower of Islam, in the true sense of the word, is one whose hands, tongues, and thoughts do not hurt others. Object of man's life, according to Islam, is its complete unfoldment. Islam teaches that man is born with unlimited capacities for progress. Islam does not support the idea that man was born in sin. It teaches that everyone has within him the seed of perfect development, and it rests solely with itself to make or mar his fortune. The cardinal doctrine of Islam is the unity of the Father Allah. We believe in one God, Allah, who is all God, all mercy, and all power. He is perfect and holy, all wisdom, all knowledge, and all truth. These are some of his great attributes so far as we can understand. He is free from all defects, holy and transcendent. He is personal to us in so far as we see his attributes working for us and in us. But he is nevertheless impersonal. Because he is infinite, perfect, and holy, we do not believe that death, decay, or sleep overtake him, nor do we believe that he is a helpless, inactive, and inert force. Nothing happens without his knowledge and will. He neither begets nor is he begotten, because these are the traits of frail and weak humanity. The unity of Allah is first and foremost pillar of Islam, and every other belief hangs upon it. So we're bringing that up because we just want to open up. We want to open up the floor to get everybody's perspective on this madness going on with ISIS and ISIL right now, and them having this classification of being Islamic, right? When everything that they're for is destruction. But Islam means peace. But they're, dressed in the garb, and, they're exercising certain things that is contrary to what Islam means in its religious sense and in the higher sense of I self-law and master. Like they're not, exercising mastery of self. They're strictly exercising lower self. So we were put onto them going and destroying all the Assyrian stuff right now. All the sculptures, the Mesopotamian culture, Zoroastrianism and all that stuff. Putting a sledgehammer to stuff that they can't even break with the sledgehammer. 50 times they gotta hit this thing to break this stuff up, right? And likening it to the times of the Hyksos invasion of Kemet, and everybody else going in there, destroying stuff, plastering over hieroglyphics, hitting noses off of sphinxes and stuff like that because of all those things' connection to us. Not us, Negro, black, colored, African people, but Moors. So when we go check all that stuff that they're tearing down over there, you have bulls or whatever like that with feathers on, big beard, little afros and whatever like that, feathers on, and basically just getting rid of the facts, right? For the people over there not to be who they are. I was watching something with James Small on Saw Netter TV, and he was putting the perspective that our people have this idea in their head that the people on the continent, they got more knowledge of self than us because they're over there. When those guys are, they're way lost more than we are. You know what I mean? Talking about how they don't even make their own kente and all that stuff no more. they're shipping in kente to the continent. Like they don't even make the stuff anymore, right? They're shipping stuff in now from outside and saying that they're African or whatever.
You gotta have best of both worlds.
Most definitely, right? So we just want to open up and get some people's thoughts on the whole Islamic I.S.L.A.M master perspective, and how is it best for us to deal with these things for our people, because our people are automatically tying us to terrorist stuff right now. When we go to them and say, yeah, we're Moors or whatever like that, Islam and all that, automatically that's where they go in their mind. That, oh, you guys ISIS or whatever like that, you guys, because they say that they're Islam, right? When Moors start exercising birthrights, our specific grand principles, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, is really why we do what we do, because we understand that our people are, out of here, right? What type of how is the interaction been just with Moors putting our stuff out there, and our people trying to make that connection, and us trying to separate? Like, is it? Because me personally, I don't really even deal with it on that level. You know what I'm saying? Like, I refuse to even continue on once they go there. Once they go there, I let them. I'm not even, because you're obviously brainwashed. Ain't nothing that I'm going to tell you that's going to convince you that I'm not a terrorist, right? Other than my actions to show you that I'm not down with that. But to talk to our people is not. It's in one ear, out the other, because they got cable and all that stuff, and they're watching what their enemy is saying about Islam, opposed to recognizing what it is for themselves. So I don't know if Mo's got anything.
Well, I just my feeling on the ISIS thing is I realize now that that's what I think we understood.
Oh, sorry, just talk up a little more.
What we've understood is that a lot of the times the way that the European has been operating, or a lot of these sort of groups, is they're looking down the line, 5, 10 years down the line. They're looking ahead of the game. So what they knew is that this stuff was going to come back onto the front burner.
Right.
So what they had to do, and isn't ISIS the half of Horus? Isn't ISIS and Horus?
Right. Yeah.
So really what they've done is they've taken the feminine principle, in my mind.
Right.
They have then co-opted that, become that, and then created all this violence around it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's then taken that good energy and made it bad. And now what they've done is they've done such a great job through the media of perverting it all. And any time you bring up that word, it automatically sends them into that area.
Right.
So I don't know what you would do to take it down, but I told you about that story about that brother at the gym.
Oh yeah.
He had shown a video to a so-called Muslim who had come over from over there, about one of his Muslim brothers who, obviously this could have been co-opted as well, but who had, I guess, had a bomb on himself, and his brothers were coming to bury him, and that bomb blew them up. He was saying, look, aren't these guys crazy? Look at these ISIS guys. And the guy turned to him and said, it's all a CIA situation. All the ISIS people over there are Americans. Everything that you're seeing is...
Or Europeans, because Americans...
Well, sorry. No, but I meant American to how these people see Americans.
Right, yeah.
Right? So how the people identify Americans now, they identify them as the white European. Right? So what this brother turned to him in a deadly tone and said, all of that stuff is all a lie. All of what you're seeing there, those are all CIA operatives who are setting all that up. So everything that you're seeing there is really just an act. And that's what the CIA does. That's how the CIA pulls out people. What they do is they create let's say they're looking to get an enemy. They create an enemy, and that enemy competes with the other enemy. And what that enemy does is it draws up the other enemy, right? So that's their game. That's what they do. And this is all sort of really high level sort of terroristic sort of guerrilla warfare.
Right.
Right? And that's what that is. So ISIS really is the manifestation of a CIA plot.
Right.
And what it is on the, not the philosophical level, but on the psychological level, what they're doing is a two-pronged thing where they're completely dismantling Islam, tying it to Islamic stuff, which isn't connected, but in our minds we connect those things.
Right.
Right? And then I think that I was telling you, Grand Chief, that they had President Obama had a speech last week that was playing at the same gym where he was talking about how they wanted to deal with the Islamic ISIS threat. And he was trying to say that we're not against Islam, but we are against the Islamic threat.
Right.
He wanted to make it clear that the war wasn't
We're not against Islam. Right. Right.
But of course, what that does, another technique that does, is it creates confusion in your mind.
Yeah.
So you don't know what to connect with. So what I realized is called cognitive dissonance. What it does is if I tell you to go left, and then I tell you to go right, and then I tell you to go left, and then I tell you to go right, you're confused. And then when I finally leave you and say go left, you're going to go left.
Right.
Because that's the last set of instructions you've had.
Right.
So that's what cognitive dissonance means, that I have cognitively got you confused. So you don't know what is up and what is down.
Mm.
And then I can tell you what is up. And that's what they do in those Guantanamo Bay and stuff like that.
Right.
What they do is they break you down by keeping you up for days. They play loud music. They flash lights in your head until you've just been deprogrammed, and then they build you back up. So that's
Build you back up with their
stuff.
Right. Right.
So that is what's going on with this ISIS stuff. I don't know how you would dismantle. I don't have the plan for that, because I think, unfortunately, what I've realized, and you were talking about this earlier, brother, about the schooling thing. The fact of the matter is, you have to get them young, your offspring and your heirs young, and you have to instill them with the proper foundation. Because the instant that we are going to the news or anything else for our information, and we're taking that as real,
Right. It's
done. Every time you turn on that TV and you see something, understand that there's 20. I work in film, but there's 20 people behind the scene there.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing that you're seeing is like sort of fresh or new. None of it. Even the news, anything that you're seeing in the news, if it's detrimental to them, you're not going to see it. And anything that you think you're seeing is going to have some program. So that's what it is. So that's what I say with the ISIS stuff, that it is all an American conspiracy to continue to dismantle Islam, which is the true religion, and so that when you finally do bring it to people, they've been so programmed that they will not accept it.
They're not going to accept it.
So that's on the negative side.
Yeah.
Positive side, I don't know.
Just keep doing what we're doing. And anybody else got? You got something?
Well, yeah, it's basically what the brother's saying, that they're really masking and making up something so people can be confused as to what the truth really is.
Yeah.
As we are I.S.L.A.M masters, now we're actually coming out and they're recognizing it. But they're emotional people. So what they're trying to do is trying to still grasp some type of power, some type of way. Their little last gasp of breath.
Right. Yeah.
Well, that's what I sense too. I think I maybe touched on it. That's why they're using the energy of the ISIS, using the feminine energy.
Right.
And then they're pretending that
they never call it. They call it the acronym all the time. They never fully call it what it is. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's part of the game too, because I think that puts it into a corporate, almost like a business concept too, right? But then everyone else who's connecting it, anytime you're going to see ISIS now, which is really the feminine gate, you're now connected.
Automatically in your mind you connect it to.
It has to be, and that's the game that they play. It's called association, right? If I keep showing red and the number 6, every time you see 6 or the number 6 or red, you connect the two. Right. So
that's like the so ISIS is the new Al Qaeda, pretty much.
100%.
Right.
And what you realize was Al Qaeda was
also CIA.
And what Al Qaeda was
was
really them trying to suck out all of the other terrorist groups.
Right.
And that's what they did in one of the books that I read. What they did was they were looking for these terrorist groups. So what they did was they created their own terrorist group, and then that terrorist group was doing shit. So the other terrorist group got jealous. So then what that does is it draws the other terrorist group. Oh, well, you bombed that, well, I'm going to bomb this. And then they were able to then, by that kind of stuff, track their way back. That's how they do it. What they do is they suck you out, right? There was a book, Robert Lytham wrote this, and it was about an assassin named the Jackal. You never catch this guy, the Jackal. And what they did was they created their own assassin, who then was doing bigger assassinations than the Jackal.
Yeah.
And then what happened was the Jackal had to compete. So the Jackal then had to sort of come out and do even more bigger assassinations. And then that's how they pulled him out, because basically he started to do stuff to sort of hold his position. So these are some of the games, they are games that they use in real life to sort of bring out. And then that also, what that does is that's also like honey, attracting any of the sort of people who may be slightly off too. Right. Who might actually be thinking about doing it, right? Yeah. Then they're looking to let me kind of contact this ISIS group, right? All those games, that's what it is.
It's all part of the
well, it's CIA
propaganda.
Sort of, propaganda and sort of destabilization techniques. Right?
For real, right? The Red Book, chapter 4. Jesus talks with the rabbi of the 10 Commandments. I thought this was interesting with regard to the truth and falsehood. You know, just like we're talking about, you know, who's who. You know what I mean? Like who's really Islamic? Just like you said with the Obama speech. You know that it's not an attack on Islam. They're specifically trying to go after the CIA people that they put out there, right? That might be either against them now, right? Or, you know, just the front, so they can say, well, you know, we did something about it. You know what I mean? When they know that they set that thing up in the first place. Now, Rabbi Barakiah of Nazareth and Jesus, the son of Joseph and Mary, Rabbi was aid in teaching the son. One morning after service in the temple, Jesus, as he sat in silent thought, Rabbi said to Jesus, "Which is the greatest of the 10 Commandments?" And Jesus said, "I do not see the greatest of the 10 Commandments. I see a golden cord that runs through all the 10 Commandments, that binds them fast and makes them one. This cord is love, and it belongs to every word of all the 10 Commandments. If one is full of love, he can do nothing else but worship Allah, for Allah is love. If one is full of love, he cannot kill. He cannot falsely testify. He cannot covet. He can do naught but honor Allah and man. If one is full of love, he does not need commandments of any kind." And the Rabbi Barakiah said, "Your words are seasoned with the salt of wisdom. That is from above. Who is the teacher who has opened up this truth to you?" And Jesus said, I do not know any teacher opened up this truth for me. It seems to me that truth was never shut, that it was always opened up. For truth is one, and it is everywhere. And if we open up the windows of our minds, the truth will enter in it and make herself at home. For truth can find her way through any crevice, any window, any open door. The rabbi said, "What hand is strong enough to open up the windows and close the doors of our minds so truth can enter it?" And Jesus said, "It seems to me that love, the golden cord that binds the 10 Commandments in one, is strong enough to open any human door so that truth can enter in and cause the heart to understand." Now in the evening, Jesus and his mother sat alone, and Jesus said, "The rabbi seems to think that Allah is partial in his treatments of the sons of men, that Jews are favored and blessed above all other men. I do not see how Allah can have favorites and be just. Are not the Samaritans and the Greeks and Romans just as much the children of the Holy One as are the Jews? I think the Jews have built a wall about themselves and they see nothing on the other side of it. They do not know what flowers are blooming over there. What sowing time belongs to anyone but the Jews. It surely would be well if we could break these barriers down so that the Jews might see that Allah has other children that are just as greatly blessed. I want to go from Jewry land and meet my kin in other countries of my fatherland. That was chapter 4. Any more? I got any questions or anything like that we could answer? There's one more thing here.
Well, I want to speak on that.
Yeah.
On that particular passage there that you talked about. Where I realized that we as Moors now, that particular chapter, I think, is incredibly important, because what we have to realize is when they make the statement Romans, they're talking about the European.
Right.
So Allah is with the European as well.
Right.
So what we have to understand is that we created the European.
Mm-hmm.
So that is where the principles of love comes in to this as well, because ultimately it's like, let's say we created a child that was a little bit petulant, or a little bit a little bit hard to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
Allah's not going to kill his child, right? Allah is going to try and nurture his child. So what we're dealing with also is the Romans, who have the backing of Allah as well,
right,
to a certain extent, and that is what Yeshua is saying. That ultimately the Romans have something too. So I think we have to be able to incorporate how. I think you said it too. You said the Romans aren't going anywhere, right?
Right.
You told me the Europeans, they're not leaving here, right? So we have to figure out a way. Like, this isn't about kicking them to the curb, because that's probably not going to happen.
Right.
At least not anytime soon. So it might be better, and this is some of the work that I've been trying to do, because I end up being involved with a lot of Europeans, trying to find a way to come to peace with them, versus trying, because the Prophet also says, halt all of your agitating speeches on the job sites.
Right.
So I think that's part of it too. It's about trying to get them, because I think also from their point of view, there's a real sense of fear and anxiety too, because in their subconscious, they must know, the ones that do know, that they really have no power. But then for them to admit that, they then may as well just throw themselves
right,
in front of the bus.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, but that goes against Allah.
Right.
Because Allah is also there for them. So I truly think that there has to be further sort of meditation on how, like Yeshua said, we are going to live together.
Right.
And work together. And yes, we have to come back, and we are the true heirs, but there's a place for them.
Right.
And right now, they're running the show. So to sort of, or we've allowed them to, or they have done things to sort of be in control now. We have to find a way to get back on top, but it's probably not going to be done by out and out force.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's going to be done much more with probably debate and communication and awareness and all that kind of stuff. So,
right.
Well, that's right. But I mean, but one of the things I thought about too is it's almost like trying to speak a language to someone that they can't understand.
They can't understand.
So we almost have to maybe come back down to their level to then sort of try to communicate with them. But also another sort of analogy I have is a caged animal or a trapped animal is going to react violently.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't want to be have them in a corner. You sort of want to always give them a way out. Always give them a way out. And then look to try and say, how can we live together? Hey, we don't want to take your house, but give us ours.
Right.
That might be some of the stuff. So that's where I found that passage. The end of that passage was completely, to me, what it was all about.
They think our house is their house.
Well, yeah, but part of the issue is it's like let's say we lay down with a lady and we had a child that we really didn't want. At the end of the day, the child the child.
You gotta deal with it.
Huh?
You gotta deal with it, yeah.
Yeah, you still gotta, you know what, you don't have to.
You don't have to, but I mean, you
But
know,
ultimately,
if you
I think,
don't.
well, what happens if the child gets strong now, and all of a sudden the child is holding a hammer too, you know, your reaction might be not to try to step up to it. The reaction might be saying, hey, you stay over there, and I'll stay over here.
Right.
Right.
You know some mean kids.
No, I'm just saying that that is what I think that is analogy to.
Yeah.
The fact
Yeah.
that the Roman is our creation.
Yeah.
We created him, and now
It's our.
and now somehow we think we want it to go off and die. But Allah's spark is in that too, because half of the Roman is us on a genetic level.
Right.
So he would be killing himself. Right? That
Right.
being Allah.
Yeah,
Say,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And Allah isn't about that in my mind.
Right.
Allah is about life. Right?
Yeah,
So that is where I think that part is very, very important about how we are going to get to a level, because I think as much as the work is us to do within us, I think it really is about, and I talked to you about this, about us going down to City Hall.
Yeah.
And sort of
squaring those people up. Well, that
squaring up with those people.
That's sort of the same thing like what Grand Chief Nature was talking about with in the Moorish History Month, with the county not wanting to do certain things and making sure we let them know that they do have certain obligations that they have to live up to.
That's right.
You know what I mean? You can't, the same way that you're saying we can't just put them to the side and die. They can't do that same thing with us. Like, we'll accept everybody else's stuff, but we're not gonna accept these guys' stuff because if we accept their stuff, then it means the end of us.
But that's why I think it's for them. That's why I think it's much more sensitive to them. Because accepting everyone else's stuff doesn't threaten them.
Right.
Accepting our stuff, it ends it all for them.
Yeah.
And they know that on an inherent. And I think that this is what I realized too. I was even hanging with a couple of Europeans the last day. They were doing their little music thing. Like, I'm a DJ and all this stuff. And the beats he was listening to, I hear them and I was like, that's our music. Like, it's all our music anyway, right? And I realized that they know it. They all know it. Yeah. In their minds, they know that shit, but they can't. And what happens is they always have their way out because they're talking about these guys in the hood and how we're our own worst enemy. Yeah. Because we're carrying ourselves as if we're about this big. Right? So it's very easy for them to go, oh, well, that, he was trying to use the word nigger, and he was like that, and I could see he was looking at me to see exactly how, where I was going to haul off, and I was just like, I was like, yeah, those niggers, they got problems too, right? And he was like, all of a sudden I could see he sort of relaxed a bit, and all of a sudden, you know what I mean? Yeah, but he was tense for a minute, right? And so what I realized though is that's the stuff, because what I did was I worked with him afterwards, and I said to him, I said, when two children grow up in the neighborhood, they don't know color.
Right.
They don't know nothing. That comes from above them. He said, yeah, I know. And so we all know that all of our stuff comes from how we've been trained or we've been indoctrinated or taught. So most of the Europeans, through the Daughters of the American Revolution, made it clear that they didn't want to mix with us because they knew that they would lose. Right? So they had to keep it separate, and then they did their stuff, this is why their stuff is very compartmentalized. On the one side, they got people coming out to kill us. On the other side, they're making sure that we don't learn. On the other side, they're making sure that they get ahead. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's multifaceted. And then what happens is we're our own worst enemies because then we're off drinking, smoking, doing all that crazy shit. But naturally, huh? Yeah. And then what they do, they've given us the little venues to get ahead, the sports, but that's to keep us compartmentalized too. Right. Music, right? All that. So you see it. It's all there, right? There's never anything to do with business or finance or any of that stuff.
I'm watching a lot of these videos, and I'm noticing.
You're watching what?
I'm watching a lot of these videos.
All right.
And I see a lot of these Europeans using the N-word. Right? And they're not using it in a way where it's like, whatever. They want to own that word. Literally, they want to own that word. I would rather give it to them and say Merry Christmas, because usually, I think it's two Beverly Hills type girls having a conversation.
Or like one of those, just a video of upload type video.
Yeah.
Tape yourself type of video.
Yeah. And the girl, she's in the N-word so fluent to the other European girl.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so you wanted that bad.
Yeah.
It's nature though, because they want to use that word and we're leaving our bodies to our higher self.
Exactly.
Right.
So I'm saying we need to not
like you hold that.
when we stop being defensive of something we don't need and let them have it, because really truly that's the
really the
escape.
Yeah, that's the really to get out of it. That's the real deal.
If we keep defending
that we can't call it
that N-word, then that means that we want to keep it like our child, like it's our child, like losing Isaiah. Like, no, I ain't Isaiah. That's Chris. Take Chris.
Yeah.
So say I don't have no N-words around me. If they want it, then keep it.
Sure.
But I think what the issue has been is that they put that on us. Right? For the lot. No, but ultimately in the beginning they did put that they did put that word on us, right? Mm-hmm. And then what happened was our way of what do you call it? Sort of numbing ourselves to it, is we started to use it. Right? Yeah. Remember, they used to be calling us nigger all the time, and that was fighting words, right?
Yeah, right.
And then we took nigger. Then we took nigger.
Right.
And then it was ours.
No fighting
right?
anymore.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But remember this: your buddy can call you nigger. But the instant European called you nigger, you were looking to fight. So that to me, and that's where I think you have. But that's where I think you have to look at. But that's where I think you have to look at the sorcery. Yeah. Right? Because that's real deep level sorcery. Right? They're getting you to own shit that's not even yours. Right? Or no, they're accusing you of being shit that's not even yours. They're labeling you with it. You're then owning it, but you're then not allowing them to say it to you, which is sort of bringing it back to you again. Right. But then ultimately, you're not even after you become evolved and you hear them using it. I still felt some of the hairs go up on my arm, and you still hear it when they're still saying that.
And
right?
that happens because but that happens because that lets you know you're being emotional about something you have to be emotional about. Yeah. Well, yeah. You know what I'm saying? So if you feel rising, it's, you know what? You know, that's being emotional. Let them keep that word.
I agree, but I think that's going to take some.
Scientists
Well, it's going to take some work to get back there. Nothing's going to happen. It didn't happen overnight.
Easy.
Yeah. Well, and I agree with you, but that's why I'm saying that. But I think awareness is the first step. Yeah. Right? Being aware of what is going on is the first step, right? Yeah. And then picking your battles is the next one.
We have to know what's going on. We have to know what's going on. Like these Europeans, I'm saying it so they want that word. They've been wanting the word for so long. Right. Yeah, and me being emotional, I'm like, no, you can't have that word. And then you use it on us. I'm like, no, I'm seeing them use it on themselves. Yeah. Because they want to be us. So they want to be the new Edwards, let them have it. And we're the ones slowing that process down. Yeah. Because our emotion is jumping into, would you call me? You know, I'm calling him. You know, that's someone who looks like them. And I'm like, oh, okay. So when they were playing, they used to play chess, and we're playing checkers, we able to switch with mate and say, you know what? Keep it. And I'm no longer being offended by that word because I know what we're talking about. You're talking about the truth. And right now, the truth is coming back. Yeah. Right. And we're denying the truth of being emotional. And like you said, you know, how we change the word and, you know, the ER and the A and no, you know what? Take it, word. Give it, and the A. Yeah, so
capital, common, whatever.
Take it all. Take it all.
You guys are the real niggers anyway, so
exactly.
Why
that's
not?
Going on, because the truth is here.
It's coming back around,
it's coming back. We're not even recognizing it. That's the truth. Yeah. We start recognizing and saying, this is what it is. Yeah. Because when they were created, they want to eat themselves. Like cannibals.
I thought about this too. I think the last level to all of this too, though, is no matter, even if they take it back, we're still at the level that this is still a very sick place that we're at, right? So even when we sort of lay things back down and it's yours and it's ours, we're still dysfunctional, right? We still got a lot of, it's not like if things go back to normal, everything's good again. You know what I mean? Like we still got, like, they've still messed things up enough that there's so much other work that needs to be done as well. Right? And I think that's part of it too, because it's still about the dysfunctionalism behind everything. Right? It's not like once they start saying that they're the nigger, everything's going to be all right again. No, you know what I mean? We still got to get into our neighborhoods and, like, look at the group here. There should be a lineup outside of here. You know, the same 500 people that were going to see Elijah's. That should be a lineup outside of here. Straight. Right?
It's like we need to show them that there's a higher version to what our culture was shown.
Well,
like
interesting you mention that, because you know what I thought about this. Think about this now. Think back. Think about anything that they talk about history. First of all, history is very rarely talked about most of the time. If you just think in general.
Yeah.
And any history they are talking about stops at the Romans.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It never goes beyond, or it's like it sort of stays there, but it never is going into this period between 200 AD to 1400. You're never hearing anything about that. You may hear about stuff around the 1700s and all that stuff. And you may hear about stuff in the ancient, like the Romans, but you never hear about the stuff with us anywhere in that middle ground. They can't do it. They can't bring it out.
But why would you expect me to? But look at though.
Well, I agree.
But look at though. What we need to do.
I know.
What we need to do and learn to master is the art of dissociation. Okay.
Well,
you don't see the corporate CEO, European man, looking at a prostitute or a bum, and I'm like, yo, man, you need to rise up, man. No, he's just going about his business. He recognizes, who we are.
The hierarchy.
They're cool people who don't even care, because they don't care about the small circle. Our problem is we don't be exact like that, but understand that this time that's coming is different.
Yeah.
Like you said, like Public Enemy says, every brother ain't a brother. We need to recognize the frequency that we're operating on. Not everyone, look at YouTube. There's some craziness going on there. And people are like, oh, that's my people. I'm like, that's not my people.
Straight up.
It's not time to be on the same frequency.
Yeah.
I got to learn to disassociate and say, you know what, man? I got to move forward. Marcus Garvey was on this tip. It's like, yo, I'm only taking the few that are useful to help rebuild Africa.
Okay,
Not everybody can more than
I want to say I totally agree with you there. But then sometimes when I pick up the Quran and the Red Book, I see the part where Jesus, and they have the lady who comes in who's full of sin, the man who comes in who's a bum, and the child who comes in who's a thing. And I sense that all of that stuff, those books are there for a reason. Yeah. And I think that the bum on the street is just as important as the CEO. Yeah. And that's part of the issue. Yeah. And I'm agreeing with you that, yes, we walk hard, and if some guy says he's a nigger and thing, then we walk by him. But I think if we don't convert those people, that's really where the battle is.
Yeah. If people did automatically convert, they had like something that physically changed them, like what Kuch was talking about earlier when you were talking about like when a problem goes on in your life, like, yo, this is a spiritual awakening.
You're talking about that period of time.
Yeah. So like that bum, he might not really think that that's time. He just might just be like in the physical, he may not think it's time, but in the spiritual, you know what I mean?
No, I'm agreeing with you. I just think that I was just sort of countering his point about sort of looking past anyone who's not on the level.
I never said that.
No, I took it and probably what I'm saying is I paraphrased you or took what you said and sort of took it to be that. I just think that. Well, okay. And I'm hearing you. No, and that's right. But I'm explaining to you where my angle came from that, which is I think that it is those people. It is the people who are a little bit difficult and the ones that aren't on the level that we really have to. It's not us in this room that we got to worry about. Right? You remember that, right? It's not. It's about everyone else out there, right? That's what the nationhood's about, right?
But I think it comes back to that thing about if we attempt to, we have to attempt.
That's right. We have to keep the doors open.
When we attempt and they don't take it, then we wash our hands.
That's right. But we have to at least have one try.
No, we deal with science. In arguments, you put words in people's mouths to water down the points, and then you dispense them with your strong points. You know what I'm saying? So when we say, okay, well, so you're saying, in other words, you're saying this, and then when you're thinking that, you know what? Yeah, when you're thinking, okay, you trying to understand what you're saying? Right. You just water down your whole your strength, your power, just so they can chop you down. Right. So that's what I'm saying. When people say, let me speak on your behalf. I go, no, I'm right here. I speak for myself. I hear you say that.
No, I just thought that what I had gotten from what you had said, which is probably, maybe another, again, like an unspoken technique, but I had sort of just felt that what you were saying is that it's really, you said you were talking about the businessman who sort of didn't worry about the prostitute who was there, he just kept walking on. And my feeling was that I think that it's about the collective nation.
No, what I'm saying is, I hope that you gravitated when I said frequency.
Right.
A bump could be on the same frequency of a person who's with a business suit.
Right.
So based on that frequency, they all connect regardless of what they're wearing.
All right.
But what I'm saying is, as us as a people, like if we were people who are so cold or whatever, we'd be just like the Europeans, but we're not.
Right.
And our problem is our love is so strong. We still love them. Why? Because they have the understanding that they're our children, and they'll always be our children.
But you know what?
So so they'll always be our children. What I'm saying is, we need to stop moving people who are like-minded, right? And make those changes instead of looking at these videos and saying, people. I'm like, no. I've learned to remove myself from a person who does something that I would never do, and just remove myself. And I look at that person, like a European would, I'm like, yeah, that's kind of foolishness, right? And when they see that we're disconnected, right? They were like, oh my gosh, they're learning what's going on, how we did it. Right? Because what we tend to do is we get emotional by defending shit that's not us. Why do we do that? Because it's this umbrella that we hold, you know, and it's like an anchor. It's an anchor. That's an umbrella.
I think it's how they classified all of us in one pool.
That's them, and we allow them to control us by doing that.
That's right.
No. So my point is, we gotta stop. Because I'm looking at sciences, and what they do is science of disassociation. They never look at the video and I'm like, oh my gosh, we're such cavemen. No, like yo, I'm one. I'm still bothered. We're the ones who just want to like say, no, you are all my people and blah blah. No, we're the ones. And if we start moving and making moves, because I study people, everyone follows. It's a current that we have to create. And once you create that current, everyone follow it. Twerking. Who would think twerking is something to do? It was disgraceful. Guess what? The Europeans now making money. It's a girl on YouTube. It's a girl on YouTube saying, I pay for my college, I pay for this. People want to see me on tour to do this and whatever. I'm like, it don't matter what we do. We have the potential to make money, but we're not thinking on a level like, you know what? We can create something and get something out of it, as opposed to creating it and have someone else get something out of it. That's our power.
Well, we have to go back to being spiritual, because like back in the day, like let's say like the 80s, you know what I mean? You guys used to put a lot of information out in our music, all that stuff. Now look at now. I can't even look at the last person that was feeding me information just on the commercial level. You know what I mean? Like nobody's feeding me.
I think a lot of that was done. I think a lot of that is done by a program.
But that was even the older. The thing about it is, it wasn't even the older age that was doing that. It was like the people who were rising up, like our age group. You know what I mean? We were rising our people, and then after that, everyone would follow from there.
No, but I think because I've done some studying on hip hop. You know, he wrote that book. KRS-One was talking about where hip hop came out of a people that were oppressed. And hip hop was the speaking of that people. It was like the gospel. It was modern day gospels. And what happened was people started to follow that. And that was then, and so everyone back then was conscious. But then what happened was the European record companies came in and said, hey, you want to really make some dollars? Here. And then what happened was, But then what happened was they said, listen, what will sell is if you're talking about 40s and crack. Not about uplifting your people up. And that's how the music slowly changed from being conscious to then being commercialized. And then at the end of it, that's right.
Yep, 95, 96.
That's where you have to, and he knows, like all of the people in the music know that, but at the beginning of this, it was a conscious thing to raise
I
people
felt that growing up. I even felt that. Like, I don't listen to music anymore. Like, after my mom, I would just go, when I was growing up, I'd go in her CD. She has, like, tons of CDs, like, brand, like, everything that you think of, right? I just go in there and just, you know, listen to music. And like,
you know what I'm saying?
All right, go on.
Go on. Music. I didn't know what. I didn't even know what music I liked, but I liked the R&B music and soul. When I was a kid, I just always listened to that. Like, I'd always have this feeling in my I don't even know what it was.
Think about it.
Even when you listen to old school right now, you get this warm feeling racing.
But look, think about even the name of it, soul.
Soul,
Back in 96, I could talk to a girl and say, what do you like? Hip hop or it's either hip hop or R&B. Hip hop, R&B, or reggae. Now hip-hop has been so spread apart, or like across like butter. It's like conscious, twerking or whatever, strip club music or whatever. Different types of versions of hip-hop.
The Europeans just cut it, like just put it in a big pot.
But that's where I think Shaquem I think is correct about
They
it.
don't.
That is where I think Shaquem is correct about this, where he's right. Yeah, no, but also what you were saying is that everything we create has this incredible everything we have creates this incredible energy, right? And creates profit. The problem is that we tend to sell it away, and we don't own it, and then we start to for a little bit of money, for a few pieces of silver, we start to give it away, and that's where you're right. Anything we want to do, we become a multi-billion-dollar industry, but the problem is at the point we have to hold it to a certain to what we need to hold it to. If we then start selling it off, this is what happened to hip hop, rap. That's what it was.
I think it's astrological too.
100%. Yeah, most definitely.
The time wasn't right.
Yeah.
The time wasn't right. Like back in cross colors, we thought that was the crime, right?
Yeah.
Cross colors. Instead of Mr. Wendell. Yeah. We thought that was the era.
But it was the era. But we took the right instead of allowing.
We'll pick it up. Exactly. That was the whole we're under dependence under chest and everything.
Yeah.
But I mean,
you see, you have to think about this. Remember, Noble Julie has been around since 1913, so that shit was out there somewhere, right? It was somewhere there.
Somebody brought it back, though. That's the thing. Like it probably like people were doing it the whole time.
Yes, they were.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But what happened? It became, I guess, sublimated at that point, right? It wasn't back on the front burner, so to speak, right?
But I think all things have to arise because economically,
Right.
people were doing what they're still doing and not knowing. But now we're at a time of pressure, right?
I think what it is.
Pressure becomes transformation.
I think what has happened is that the European game has started to fall apart. That is what I think has now brought us back, right? I think the European was a lot stronger then, and now astrologically, their stuff has started to fall.
Exactly.
Right? That's what I think has now changed the whole dynamic.
And that was just a platform for us to bounce off.
That's right.
If anything, like
that's what it is. The changes is that their game has fallen apart now. Whatever they were running was our stuff, and since we're not giving them anything more,
their time is done.
Done, right? They have nothing more to feed off of, right? Yeah. Hip hop was that last thing. Remember that?
Yeah.
Hip hop was that last bastion, right? That last area. They took it and they made billions and billions off it.
Yeah, no,
and
there's
really,
nothing.
Because it was a negative thing, nothing came out of it.
Yeah.
Right? It couldn't grow. Right? It failed. Right?
You can tell now that things are falling apart for them, even in Hollywood.
100%. You can see it. You can see it. It's done.
Yeah.
It's done.
All they say is just talk about nationality and not the movies, but behind the scenes, and then it'll be over.
It's done. It's done.
We got one question. No, go ahead.
We need two questions.
Right.
She got bad Oscars. She got black ball.
For what?
Monique, because she didn't follow the protocol of once you win an award, you have to follow some kind of to make it simple.
Some kind of once you're a house nigga, you have to do the house.
Yeah. wanted to promote the gay agenda.
Really?
And she's like, I can't do that. I can't go and promote this because I got my family to deal with.
Yeah.
And they're like, they're saying that she has all these high requests and whatever. And she goes, no, like I can't go over there to wherever to promote the movie and you're not gonna pay me.
Yeah.
They want her to fly and promote the movie, and
just because.
No money.
Yeah.
$3. Just because. And they just blackball her. After she got the word, because that's your rap. That's the truth. So Hollywood is definitely exposing a lot more stuff. I see a lot of things happening now.
Our people need to start doing our own stuff now, though.
Well, look what they did when that's what they were trying to do. Bill Cosby.
Yeah, look what they did with him. Blackballed him.
All things are coming together. Because his power. Look at his power. Like,
yeah.
You're pulling up the wrong person.
We need our own medium too, right?
That's what they're all trying to do.
Well, I think that's what the prophet said. The prophet said that we need to have our own literature.
Yeah.
That was the main thing.
Yeah,
Right?
and
that was it. And that's what Hollywood is. Hollywood really is the European literature.
Right.
Oh, indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Right.
What do you think of what we own?
No good.
We own the literature. Because if you look at every position, who's in it? Us. Right? The only thing that they have is the position and the little name. Yeah. They don't want to work tomorrow. You see that?
Straight. This is some Rome must fall. Rome is falling. Yeah. There was one. We got one question emailed. I just wanted to put that out there. See if we can get some perspectives on this one. The question is, how do we get some of our people and foreigners who may be Orthodox Muslims to understand that Noble Drew Ali is also a prophet when they try to say Muhammad is the last prophet? Yeah. Convince, understand.
Because he's uplifted human fallen humanity. He's brought back to the fold, our salvation.
Well, Noble Drew Ali was about nationality. Any other prophet was, I don't know.
Just about religion, title. Yeah.
So with Noble Drew Ali brought in, we show the power of what that was.
Right.
And no, it's before Noble Drew Ali. Noble Drew Ali did was reinforce it. He showed it still has power.
Right.
So what power does Elijah Muhammad have?
Prophet Muhammad they're talking about.
Muhammad, yeah.
Also too, show them a nationality card, so that we honor all prophets. And there isn't a separation of the prophets. Like there isn't. There isn't.
Prophet is one prophet.
Yeah.
Split up into
different eras. Different
It's
eras to reach different people, but it's the same. It's the same message. Yeah, the same message. Right. Actually, that was yeah. Hit something. I just remembered something. Savior of humanity. In this electrifying age, men are racing into this life without complete knowledge of where they are going or what the end will be, when riches seem to be their only pursuit to be obtained anyway and at any cost, when selfishness, avarice, greed, and lust dominate their very being, when humanity in general is left at the mercy of those who have no mercy in them. It is truly wonderful and astounding to see one come into this mad human drama for the sole purpose of saving humanity. So there's one point there, I guess, that Drew Ali came strictly for saving humanity. There wasn't any other real agenda that he had, right? And I mean, if we look at it, I guess all the prophets in their era had a sole purpose that they came to manifest. Losing all sight of those things worldly and yielding absolutely to a cause higher than has ever been attained. This picture is the likeness of Prophet Noble Drew Ali, who is serving humanity, coming as he does with a message for the nations in somewhat the same manner as did Yahshua, Muhammad, Buddha, Confucius, and other prophets of their day. Only the things of this prophet's day differ from the ills of the days of the past, and yet the remedy for the ills of today is about the same as the remedies for the days past, all turning about the pivot love for humanity. Humanity must be lifted from the unwholesome depths of poverty, misery, and suffering, and placed on the solid rock of salvation. There are some who claim to do this, but upon investigation, one finds that they have slouched under the wings of their cross to extract from those who have come to them means by which they can have the pleasures of this life, while they point their followers to the joy after death. While they feed their sheep, they also share them while eating. At the close of their day, the master will be heard to tell them, "You have your reward, get thee hence." Rare is it that you find a real prophet, whose mission is the salvation of the nations. The land is full of false prophets, whose mission is to fleece the people. The time was and now is that there should come into the land a prophet in the likeness of his brothers, to redeem them from their sin and slavery. Truly, this prophet, Noble Ali, is the man, bringing with him the message of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, which alone can save the nations. Like the coming of Yeshua, he does not come from the elect, nor the rich, nor the mighty in worldly power, but all power is given unto him to do good. This power is from Allah. It will be his works that will make men of every nation accept the truth that he brings. It will be through his teachings that the nations of earth will understand the will of the Master. It will be through him that peace on earth and goodwill to all men shall come. It will be through his work that humanity will be brought from the slime of life and placed on the solid rock of salvation. Wow.
Wasn't there, I thought it was in the Quran, but wasn't there a passage where it talks about individually Muhammad came at a certain point, and then individually came after him? Remember the passage where it talks about how Muhammad had come after a certain period of time to sort of start the work, and then individually came to finish it, sort of thing? That was the last one in his prophecy.
End of time? Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, yo. I don't know.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Another one, one thing I can answer to you about, the question is, you can let them know that the Constitution wasn't built on Christian principles, Christianity. It was founded on
Islamic principles, right? Everybody else got any stuff, questions, comments?
So, what again was our theme again?
We are not Islamic. We are I-self-law and mastering.
I think part of it would be trying to break down the sort of difference between Islamic being almost a form of religion versus Islam being the right.
Right. Yeah.
And Islamic being almost dogmatic, right? In a sense, right? Just another sort of slice
of the religious
of
pie.
pie that they're trying to break up. Right. Islam has you going to God one-to-one.
Right. Instead of
has
everything else has a middleman.
Who's the guy in the temples in
Islamic? Imam. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I mean, I think that would be
eliminating the middleman. Yeah. Having your dealings with God as an individual, opposed to needing somebody to make that connection for you or whatever.
When I talk to zombies, I tell them it's all about love. You know, it's all about love, universal love. You know, I go, Google universal definition of human rights right now, not even human being.
Right.
You know, and all Jolie try to do is make us humans again. You know, because we're not humans in the eyes of law right now. We're all walking out.
Well, zombies. We're all zombies.
Yeah, zombies. You know, and I say these reasons why, you know, we're not getting each other respect. Because we're not even together as a nation. And being a Christian is not a nation.
Right.
Being a Muslim is a nation. You know, it's all nationality. And power is in nationhood. You know, so if you want to talk about why people are broken, whatever, you know, when you strip it down and look at what I'm saying. You have these people who can't speak or make it English and they're only businesses.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. But what do they have that
They
we
have
don't?
information back in the mother.
Yeah.
Exactly. Our people don't get what nation nationality.
Because they control our literature.
Yeah,
Right.
of course.
Yeah.
And everyone else knows about us and us.
That too. That's why they're going to whatever ISIS, breaking up all the stuff, because you know they can see, they know that there's people who represent those stuff. So if they destroy those things, they get rid of the people.
Why they had to create ISIS? They couldn't go in there as the U.S.
Right, that too.
They have to go in there as they have to go in there as one of them.
One of them, right?
That's the only way that this could be done on a public level, to have them continue to do what they're doing.
Right.
You have to think that it's one of them doing it.
Right.
Of course.
Yeah,
But that's what I've been getting to. All of this is counterintelligence stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, our people need like some sort of like curriculum or something to get our people back into the constitutional fold.
I think you start moving with those
who are on the free.
Yeah, because it's like this. If you're walking every day, you're away from me, and you don't walk it.
Well, we're gonna be walking anyways, but honestly, we're not gonna just be walking in their state. Like, you get what I mean? We're gonna be walking and functioning as more, which is teaching our people and stuff like that. But we're supposed to still make an income off what we're doing, though, right? Like, so we don't just we live this what we're doing. You know what I mean?
So that's what they should do.
Yeah, we're supposed to live this. So
it's not a group. So
it shouldn't be a turn off. Like, oh, okay, I'm just gonna turn off the internet right now. You know what I mean? Like, we should always be more than like,
But the problem is we've been sleeping for so long, and this month alone, it's helped running time, back in Kunta Kinte days, and that's all February is. It's just to try to keep us thinking like black people, and like, yeah, Martin Luther King, and Harriet Tubman, keep thinking like a slave again. Yeah. And nothing simple but the Jehovah's Witness. I guess I'm thinking that those people, they're out there to see if we're waking up or not. The foot soldiers.
Yeah.
The
See
foot
how.
soldiers, they're not going to go in there and your pamphlet, like how you mentioned. You know what 19 calendar? They're like, okay, see you later. So they're like the religious census makers.
Yeah, the religious census.
See, it was since people away.
The religious census.
Yeah, the religious census. Like, are you a Christian?
Yeah.
Oh, you're more.
Yeah. You had something more?
No, I'm just trying to find that. I'm trying to find that where I remember that passage.
And they have people from Africa out there, like fresh off the boat, handing out papers with their children, helping them out. You know what I mean? So even some of our people are lost.
Actually, yeah, we seen that last week at at the community center on the upstairs. There's an African up there that he's running his little church service or whatever like that. You know what I mean? Jesus is the savior and all that type of stuff. When it's like, What happened to where the Orishas at? Like what? You know what I mean? But everybody's seeing it as a business. You know what I mean? Because religion is. You know what I mean?
He could have got into his spiritual awakening, and then everyone was like too slow that he's just like, you know what? I know what's going on, so I'm just gonna use this to make a living.
Young guy in Finch started his church. He was on the corner and saying all these things, and next year after that,
For real. Yeah.
Non-profit.
no, he was in the church.
I wonder.
Yeah, all profit. All profit. All profit with no profit.
All kind of money. You know what I'm saying? Because that's all it is. People's fear is making big bucks.
Yeah.
I forgot who I was watching the other day, but this one guy said that I think before the 1800s or whatever, we were all like, or I think it was like, I can't even remember what time, but a lot of us people from the Caribbean, we were in the Baptist churches or whatever. You know, and a lot of the sons, they were Freemasons or whatever.
Yeah.
So they knew the high sciences of like what was really going on.
Yeah.
So it's like
even when we were growing up, those were the people that you didn't want to bump into or whatever, the Baptists. You know what I mean? Because they were really dealing with the Orishas and candles and stuff like that.
The baptism was that.
In Trinidad. Yeah. Shango Baptist. Yeah. They come around with their white, with the drums and stuff like that. Have people running inside because the Baptists are coming. Don't cross those people or whatever. Yeah. It was weird. I don't know if anybody got anything else. Well, that's probably about it. So we want to say Islam to all the Moors that been, hanging in there. We had about, I don't know how many we had fully, but I saw it drop down to like 8 at one time. We're back up to 11 or something right now. We have, just want to remind people, rvbaypublications.com. Go to rvbaypublications.com. On the first page, Brother Mizraim L just finished a book that he wrote. So we want to employ people to go get that, pick that book up. We should have someone in here soon. Until then, RVBay. As well, if you need any of your astrological stuff done, readings, natal charts, anything like that, Sister Sela on her website, moreastrology.com. So you can, get ourselves lined up. Me and Omar were talking about that last week too, about how, once we realize that they're using astrology every day, all day, that's all they use, you know what I mean? Because it's just a repetitive thing that happens just happens, you know what I mean? Every year, same time, there's new moon. Every year, same time, there's half moon, quarter moon, whatever, full moon, all this stuff. Friday 13th, every year, same thing. So, getting in tune with the astrological sciences, as well. Who else had something? Oh yeah, Brother Abdullah. Don't forget you can get the Masonic Gate newspaper online as well through his website, morecivilletter.net, and also using that website for if you know people, Asiatics that are Masons, that are in the lodge, you can use the information that he has to sort of bring them back into recognizing that no European doesn't have any authority over them, to tell them that they're Masons and they could wear fezzes and whatever like that. You know what I mean? That it's their stuff. All they got to do is take the stuff back. You know what I mean? Instead of bowing down. Yeah, quick fast. Yeah. The ads go from $20 to like $30 or something like that. Half page. Well, with the one that we have there, we already did that already. So it's not, it's not for, that's for Moors to use that as their proclamation and then create a letter of introduction for yourself to give to whoever else, but you just put the paper with it, right? Because we set it up so that the judicial proclamation in the paper is for the Moors, not, from an individual. You know what I mean? It's broad,
And that's in the aspect of public notice, as in like other papers, like maybe the Share magazine and the Carib News and things like that, maybe even the Indian newspaper and the Chinese newspaper and things like that.
Well, the issues with them is that they charge by letter. Yeah. So if you have a 2-page document, you're looking at, 300 or something like that to advertise with them. Right. So that's why we did it that way. Because when we realized that it's 300, we might as well put out our own paper because it costs 300 to put out our own paper. You know what I mean? Instead of everybody putting 300 to them guys. You know what I mean? So it's really about Moors taking ownership of their stuff. You know what I mean? Just same thing, just like everything else. Realizing that even though we might not be we not be attorneys and notaries, but we got seals that you put down on paper. They recognize it like it's lawful. You know what I mean? They're not gonna say, "Oh no, you can't have that on there" or whatever like that. They'll just accept it as what it is. Paper. We have newspaper. That we don't really need to really go to, Sun, Star, whoever else.
But I'm
just
saying
do
the
our own.
aspect of maybe like the Share magazine thing that I was just reading it the other day, right? And they have a black all-girls school.
Mm.
She's closing down right now. She's facing a closing because of lack of enrollment.
Yeah.
Right?
But the lack of enrollment is because of the black school.
Well, that's what.
Because that's free.
Yeah, because you know what, I want to, just to jump on that, as I was thought I was going to become a Mason one time, my sister wanted to didn't want to put her child into normal school. So she found that Afrocentric school. Do you remember hearing about that one, Cujo?
Yeah.
So she put the child in there, and I went to the Masonic, one of these Masonic meetings, because I was trying to become a Mason before I got on this tip, and the guest speaker was the principal of the Afrocentric school. So now when I think back on this now, because this is before I was on this knowledge, but I now realize what was actually going on.
What's going on?
Right? Because they were tapping into the fact that people were starting to wake up. Of course, they were trying to get you onto the Afrocentric thing, which of course was still another
keeping you asleep.
Left turn.
Yeah.
Right? And that school, I think, is starting to drop down too because it was all a fraud.
Yeah.
Well, right? Anyways, I found that passage. If you want to read it,
do you have the what chapter you got?
It's the one on Christianity.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The beginning of Christianity.
All right.
So you can read the first 4 if you want. Maybe that would be better.
Chapter 46, the beginning of Christianity. The foundation.
Just interrupt. This was about who was talking about Muhammad? Oh yeah.
That was a question. Yeah, it was a question, an online question about Muhammad.
Yeah.
The foundation of Christianity began in Rome. Rome must fall.
Rome must fall.
The Roman nations founded the first church, of whom crucified Isa of Nazareth for seeking to redeem his people from under the Roman yoke and law. Isa himself was a true blood of the ancient Canaanites and Moabites and the inhabitants of Africa, seeking to redeem his people in those days from the pressure of the pale-skinned nations of Europe. Rome crucified him according to their law. Then Europe had peace for a long time until Muhammad, the first came upon the scene and fulfilled the works of Isa of Nazareth. The holy teachings of Isa was to the common people, to redeem them from under the great pressure of the hands of the unjust, that the rulers and the rich would not oppress the poor, also that the lion and the lamb may lay down together, and neither would be harmed when morning came. These teachings were not accepted by the rulers, neither by the rich, because they loved the principles of the Ten Commandments. Through the Ten Commandments, the rulers and the rich live, while the poor suffer and die. The lamb is the poor people. The lion is the rulers and the rich. And, or just, the lion is the ruler and the rich, just for, put out there, people say certain people are conquering lion of tribal Judas and stuff like that. So we know, where their position was. Right? Love truth, or the lamb and the poor people. The lamb is the poor people, the lion is the rulers and the rich. And through love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, all men are one and equal to seek their own destiny and to worship under their own vine and fig tree, after the principles of the holy and divine laws of their forefathers. All nations of the earth in these modern days are seeking peace, but there is but one true and divine way that peace may be obtained in these days, and it is through love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice being taught universally to all nations in all lands.
Anyways, I don't know, that was the part about Muhammad,
right.
just following Yeshua, Jesus, so that they can tie that in,
right,
and show that again he was one of the line.
Exactly. Right? Exactly.
And then possibly, just to follow up on that possibly what they can all understand is that each one of these prophets has come to the people to wake them up,
right,
at certain times. No prophet came to us because we needed him most.
Right.
He came to them because they needed him most at
right,
that time.
Right.
He came
right.
back in the time of Rome, Yeshua came for them.
Right.
Buddha came for them. So each prophet, and then that would take, also, they could also probably, I think a beautiful way to respond to these people is to turn it back on them, to get them to study. Because a lot of what ends up happening is we just take the word, that's been the problem, right? We go into these places and take their word.
Yeah.
So why don't you show me some history of who Muhammad was and where he came from? That might be a way to get them, to start getting them to
studying in that school of thought information. Right?
In that information and get a historical perspective.
Right, opposed to just the religious perspective.
Opposed to and the dogma.
Right, right.
So that could be an answer.
Right. It's all good. So Islam told the Moors, let's just close out. But also Islam to everybody in attendance. Give thanks for being here today. 5 on the left, 2 on the right. Allah, the Father of the universe.
Allah, the Father of the universe.
Father of love.
Father of love.
Truth. Peace. Freedom. And justice. Allah is my protector.
Allah is my protector.
My guide.
And
my salvation. By night. And by day. His holy prophet. Noble Ali. Islam. Rome must fall.
Rome is falling.
Rome is falling. Islam Moors.
Where were we? Where were we there? Where were we last time? We were there, right?
Yeah, we were over at
I was out there last week sometime. There was a little brother that got dropped off at grandma's house.
Is that what it was? Dropped off?
Yeah. Got dropped off, and then little brother decided to put on his boots, go downstairs, leave the building in just a diaper or something like that, a t-shirt or something like that, and he ended up freezing to death. So we have all the mourners, doing their thing. So we just want to put something out there, just with regard to anybody who's dealing with some death and things like that. We're just gonna go to our Holy Quran of the Moor Science Temple and quickly hit up chapter 4, Death and Burial of Elizabeth, Matheno's Lessons, Ministry of Death. Just so we can get a perspective of death, you know, because there's this idea of death being bad, and you know, everybody's scared of death and all that. So, all right. Oh yeah, and today's class is that we're not Islamic. We're I-self-law and master it. So, dealing with our position as Moors, right? We always have to look at things from the most highest, supreme level. We're never looking at things from some mundane, dumbed down perspective. We're always looking at things in its highest capacity, because we are the founders of civilization. And as we know, civilizations are waiting for the Moors to step up. And the longer the Moors take their place, the more destruction is going to be happening on the planet, you know, because, as we said, Rome's falling. And other people are stepping in to do Rome's job since Rome is falling. So we just want to...
You mean negative?
Yeah, negatively, right? So this is chapter 4, Death and Burial of Elizabeth, Matheno's Lessons, the Ministry of Death. When John was 12 years old... Oh, this is love, Mark. Peace and love, yo. Just started up. When John was 12 years old...
Bless can be... Here we go.
I got to use the watch.
Yeah, you're right there. We said that. What's good, yo?
This guy needs to watch.
We're wrong, but you guys gonna be here tomorrow? Huh? Tomorrow, you guys gonna be here? Yeah, we're here tomorrow. For that towards for the all right. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, we're just gonna start up. We're just starting up right now. So. All right. When John was 12 years old, his mother died, and neighbors laid her body in a tomb among her kindred in the Hebron burying ground, and near to Zachariah's tomb. And John was know that man is spirit, not the flesh.
Well, that's what they said too. A lot of things that basically say that young children have that connection, but as they continue to get trained and indoctrinated,
right,
they lose that ability because it's trained out of them.
Right, and that's why Rome must fall, because that's really what the dumb down is. The dumb down is getting disconnected from who we are on the highest level from a child. But by the time we get to 7, 8, you know, if we're not, you know, we don't have homeschool, we don't have our parents that got nationality birthrights teaching certain things, we're out. You know what I mean? Out the loop.
So, as a parent, like, nowadays, you would just advise no school, like.
Yeah, I mean, it's touchy, because, you know, we kind of need this, like the school's kind of a babysitter right now, because the parents are so bogged down with, you know, having to live, right? Even though it's not really living, you know what I mean, because they're working or whatever like that. So the school's taking a position, but, you know, it's the parents, you know, grandparents, aunts, uncles, whatever like that, who have to step in to kind of even out the brainwash.
But what is it going to take for our, like, let's say, some people still do agree with the school system or whatever, but they are Moors, right?
Yeah.
And you see how the Muslims, they're allowed to wear their
their hijab and whatever else. Yeah.
The Indians are allowed to wear their hijab. What if our sons or daughters wanted to wear, let's say, their fez or their hijab?
Yeah.
Where would we have to go from there? Would it have to be like a meeting with the principal?
Not even necessarily. It's just, you know, put on your stuff, go to school. Just like shoes. You know what I mean? Like, because we're of the mentality that we always need to get verification to do something, right? Whereas, you know, You know, that's like telling a Hindu, you know, before you go to school, you have to get permission to put the dot before you go to school with the dot.
But you see all that, for us, it would be kind of different because it's like those ones that are teaching us certain things, they're not teaching us what we're supposed to know. And they're keeping that stuff. And they hide in secrecy, the top ones.
Right.
With our
headwear or whatever.
With our headwear on. So us coming to our consciousness and just, we're setting our kids, for how he's talking about, walking to school with our fez on.
Yeah.
They know what it is.
Yeah, like for example, there's Moors right now, right? Who they send their children to school with their fez on. It's not no issue. You know what I mean? It's not fight or whatever like that. You know what I mean? If there's an issue, teacher will call them directly. You know what I'm saying? This is the situation. Come in or whatever like that. And it's not how we look at it or how we think it's gonna go. You know what I mean? We have this assumption that it's gonna go a certain way because of the previous ways that we've been dealt with. You know what I mean? But once we get over that hump, once we get over that fear that I wanted to do this, and then it's just like with the going down to the land registry or whatever. You know what I mean? You go, they're gonna give you the hassle or whatever like that. But the manager comes out, ain't no hassle. They just tell you, oh yeah, set an appointment, come back. You know what I mean? We'll deal with whatever we gotta do, and then that's it. It's not even an issue. You know what I'm saying? But the problem is that fear that same thing as we go from children, you know what I mean, and we move up. It's really a fear that they put in us to shut down our godlike capabilities. You know what I mean? Because they know that fear would suppress our higher self. They know that just the thought of what's gonna happen if you're already shut down. Yeah. Immediately, like right there, you're already done. Right? So with regard to the school thing, it's for community to start raising their children again. For our community. Because everybody else doesn't have that problem. They send their school they honor roll, you see all Lee, Wei, Huang, whatever, in the honor roll. Right? Surjit from Saran and Singh and whatever like that, an honor roll. And Asiatics on the honor roll. You know what I mean? Right? Asiatics as, like Moors, I'm saying, dark skinned people, you know what I mean?
They're basically
right? Yeah. But when you look at the dynamics, all those other nations, their children know who they are. He knows he's Lei Hing Wei. He knows that. Came out the womb. Gonna be you might call him Ben Lei at school, but when he goes home, they're not calling him Ben or whatever. They speak their own language at home. You know what I mean? And then on top of that, he's got Saturday school he goes to, and then Saturday night school that he goes to, and then Sunday morning school that he goes to, and then Tai Chi school, and then whatever else, martial arts school.
They don't really talk about that stuff too, man. Like they won't sit there and say, yeah, I do this. I do that. You know what I mean?
And then the other thing too is they probably do talk about it, but we don't know their language. So when they're sitting there talking Chinese or whatever like that, they could be breaking down all their sciences or whatever right there on the school in the cafeteria on lunch. You know what I mean? What did you learn in last martial arts class or whatever? I wasn't there.
You see how the prof would do 7 different languages or something?
Right.
9 different languages. Yeah. Did he know how to communicate with the Asians, like how they're speaking their language?
I mean, I wasn't there to know, but the fact that in the literature, you had Turks coming to the temple, Chinese coming to the temple, Spanish-speaking people coming to the temple during his time. There was obviously a forum for them if they're going to be coming in. You know what I mean? Like, Japanese coming to the temple. What do they have interest in? Most deeply grieved. He wept. Matheno said, "It is not well to weep because of death. Death is no enemy of man. It is a friend who, when the work of life is done, just cuts the cord that binds the human boat to earth, that it may sail on to smoother seas. So we'll just stop there because me and Brother Omar were talking about this last week with regard to this little brother that walked out the building and froze to death. Little brother is ready to go because, you know what I mean, he realized something's up. You know what I mean? He made himself a sacrifice because when we analyze the situation, you know what I mean, him opening the door and stuff like that, you know what I mean, putting on his boots, not putting on anything else, you know, just putting on his boots only, walking outside minus 40 or whatever like that, you know, there's obviously some higher things going on, you know what I mean?
As well as his name too.
His name, Elijah, right? You know, the fact that that's his name, that alone, you know, puts things in perspective. You know what I mean? We look at
that movie with Denzel or whatever.
Yeah, Eli. Yeah, Book of Eli.
Eli.
Yeah. So we have to, you know, like we're saying, you know, we're not Islamic. We're I.S.L.A.M and Masteric. So we have to look at things, you know, from the we're God perspective. You know what I mean? We're the ones that are going to change whatever's going on out there. And with him doing what he did, you know, because I'm still, you know, people have said, oh yeah, it's happened, you know what I mean? Matter of fact, the day after, same thing happened again in Saga. Somebody else's.
Well, it was interesting. That was a 10-year-old boy.
Yeah, another one happened the day after.
And that was a European, and the mother was up doing some other nonsense.
Right.
They charged her
with
something because it was abandonment.
Right. Child endangerment or
whatever. He
survived,
but basically because some neighbor caught the child.
Yeah, saw the child in the street and brought him inside or whatever. So, you know, Asiatics and Europeans, you know, children are coming on the indigo right now, where they know something's up, and they don't even want nothing to do with around here, right? He could have took the position too.
Interrupt for half a second. What I had felt is when you're born, they say that you're a spirit that is transferred over.
Right.
So you're closer, as a baby, you're closer to the
other
source,
side. Yeah.
Right? So a 2-year-old is going to be much closer than we are.
Right.
All the time that we're spent here, we continue to be we continue to lose that connection.
Right.
So Elijah at the age of 3 is much closer.
Much closer, yeah. Like,
so he came over and he's like, okay, no, whatever, I've done my thing and I'm going back.
I'm out of here.
I'm out of here.
I'm out of here, literally, right? Also, too, with that, too, there was, I can't remember where I was reading something or watching something, but they were talking about how the connection to the spiritual beings, the spiritual forces, children have access to those.
Yeah, 100%.
You know what I mean? Like actually seeing entities walking around and stuff like that. Could have been an entity called him outside. You know what I mean? Let's go. It's that time. You know, because we all.
Yeah, so what he's saying is that those guys are all ISIS. Oh, and there was one other thing too, eh? Talking to this Russian dude at this, because just quickly, I went up to my buddy's place. I didn't work this week, and his buddy, he's got a weed license.
Yeah.
So I'm up there in this room trimming all this weed, like all this hydro weed, right? So I'm working with this Russian guy, and he tells me in Russia, when a lady has a child, she gets 3 years off work.
3 years off work?
3 years.
In Russia.
To raise the child.
Wow.
And then if she has 2 children, they give her enough money to buy a condominium so that she's set up.
Right.
If she has 4 children, then she's set up for life.
It's better than a check every month.
No, but what I'm saying to you is that you realize, and they get free education and free things. So what I'm saying is you realize in certain countries, when they try to sort of say that these countries are bullshit, yeah, they may not have a high standard of living, but they're really, I mean, you've heard about this with Russia and these things where they really sort of like, there's a high level of education and shit. Right. You know what I mean? But they don't focus on that shit. You realize that that's why these people are that well
set up, if you will. Yeah.
Well, because mom is there for 3 years. Here, they've got mom out working 6 months later.
Right. 5 on the left, 2 on the right.
Oh, is it up and running?
Yeah, we're right. It's all good. Allah, Father of the universe.
Allah, Father of the universe.
Father of love.
Father of love.
Truth.
Truth.
Peace.
Peace.
Freedom.
Freedom.
And justice.
And justice.
Allah is my protector.
Allah is my protector.
My guide.
My guide.
And my salvation.
And my salvation.
By night.
By night.
And by day.
And by day.
His holy prophet.
His holy prophet.
Noble to Ali.
Noble to Ali.
Islam.
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 Peace and Hotep. We want to start off today's class with Rome Must Fall. That'll be the new one.
Oh yeah, Rome must fall. What was that again, son?
Daweed.
Oh yeah, Rome must fall.
Rome must fall, or Rome will fall.
Rome will fall.
Because
Rome
it's
is
that time
falling.
right now. Rome is falling. Yeah, so Rome must fall, Rome will fall, Rome is falling. That's the ritual. Maybe a small water. That's the ritual right now. I want to say peace, love, and hotep to all the Moors, international Moors, worldwide. Peace to all the Moors that are active, not passive. Peace to all the Moors that are active, not dirty. Especially the dirty Moors. They get no love. All they get is justice all day, every day. Right? We want to say Islam to Brother Rami Salam El for his new class on Does Anybody Love Jesus? He went in on that one. So we do acknowledge and recognize, all the Moors that's doing something positive to try to get the people, to wake up a little bit. And if not, oh well, keep it moving. We're gonna start off with giving our condolences to the Marsh family for little brother Elijah, who got his supposed to be laying down, I think, this weekend. That's the brother.
That whole thing for those.
Yeah. Extending this.
But I mean, know.
Right. GTA mourns Elijah. Crowd turns out for a visitation of little boy who died outside in the cold. So if you didn't know, for all the more.